we got a banger for you today. Very excited. I am blessed to do a premium content show with them. That's called Whatever This Is. And, you know, they've both been on the show separately. They come together. This is like peanut butter and jelly of podcasting. Very excited. Please welcome Austin Wade Picard and my good friend, Brad Binkley. And you're my good friend, too. I don't know why I said that before one and the other, but
Thank you,
both
brother.
my good friends, Brad Binkley and Austin Wade Picard. Boys, how are you?
Good. It's good to be doing a show in the daylight hours with you guys. For me,
oh, poor
For real,
Brad has to do all-nighters to do the show. I'm super sorry. We need to do it earlier. But all right, real quick, let's start with Brad. Brad, for those who aren't familiar with you on your last couple of appearances, tell us a little bit about yourself, where our listeners can find you.
I host a propaganda report on any podcast listening app. At Freedom Act Radio on X, you can find all my links in bio. Brad Binkley, youtube.com/Brad Binkley. Propaganda Fight is my website. Rumble.com/propaganda report. I think that covers it.
All right, Austin.
Man, I'm the host of the Underclass podcast, right? And yeah, the best place to support me is definitely the Patreon. And I also am the co-host each Tuesday. Me and Jose Galison from No Way Jose. We do a recurring show every Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. But yeah, it's basically Schizo Bros assemble, and we essentially try to stay on task, but it's almost impossible. So yeah, every single Tuesday night, I end up frustrated because I over prep and I never present the information I intended to. But it's definitely fun. It's what do we call it? Our weekly call-in conspiracy variety show, basically. And so yeah, it's been a lot of fun just to be able to have that call-in portion. I want to actually because we have like a producer level tier essentially for just like our patrons where they can kind of hang out backstage, then we'll reminisce after the show a little bit. But I'm trying to, like, we used to have an actual call-in number, but because of the whole setup, it's just like frustrating. But that would be nice to have that once again kind of implemented into the framework of the show. But yeah, that's really I'm pretty sure that's it, besides obviously the paywalled show that we do together.
Yeah,
But
it's called Whatever This Is, and it's a lot of fun. I get to come on and just let these two guys go and have a great time, and it's like I enjoy it. It's like really deep black belt conversations, and like both of them are whatever they bring up amazing stuff. And I'm like, oh my god, the whole time. It's and then it's like, be quiet, people are sleeping. I'm like, but my mind is being blown. I can't control myself. But it's really great. And so like one of the things that were brought up just really blew my mind, and we were just kind of talking before. It's like, unfortunately, the perfect timing to talk about this because of what just happened in Minneapolis and that whole stuff with the school shooting. So let's get into it. It's the L.I.B.O.R scandal, which I like is one of the most insane stories ever of all time, ever.
absolutely. And I think that the way that I sort of stumbled upon that scandal to begin with is extraordinary in itself, right? Just as far as those connections are concerned. But what's fascinating is that really just the pattern recognition of witnessing so many of these events, kind of like, just like if you parallel them, like compare them with each other, there are so many obvious parallels. It's impossible to just kind of dismiss if you have at all, at any real deep level, intended to like and attempted to just expose yourself to the real extraordinary details surrounding many of these cases. And I'm speaking on really, for the most part, these sort of modern mass shooting events, right? And how often they tend to happen. And clearly in Minneapolis, this Minneapolis mass shooting is another great example of how, one, the event is always obviously used as a political tool and a political football
They're
at the
already
end of the
doing
day.
all the gun control
Yep.
stuff, like right out the gate. And I've always said, if this makes it to ESPN, then it's certified a psyop. Whenever a political story makes it to Sports Center, that's when
Yeah.
you know it's a full-on press to manipulate your emotions and get your anxiety up, so you give them whatever they want.
And the anxiety too, like leading up to this one, the past week and a half, there's been story after story of hoax shooting going on at, I think, at least 3 schools that they covered. It happens all the time, but there was the one where the guy was carrying the umbrella that Nancy May shared, and everybody freaked out.
You brought that up the other day. Yeah, I remember you saying that. Go on. Yeah.
And so there's like 800 of these a year, but they focused on, there's one at Villanova, and then there was one in Chattanooga, University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, on the same day, where all these kids freaked out because they were told to run, fight, or hide. And it's one of the part of the discussion there was this could cause kids in future shootings that are real to ignore the warnings.
Interesting.
Dude,
that's so interesting.
That makes sense. It's like a fire drill. Fire drill,
Right.
you don't take it serious because you know it's not real. How many times do you take a fire drill and you're kind of like, oh, fucking loosey-goosey?
Ignore it. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
you go hang out with your other friends from the other classrooms when it should be a serious topic.
I totally agree with
Brother.
that.
That's also a psychological conditioning, right? As far as the same thing occurs in Theater 9, the Aurora, Colorado Cinema 16 shooting, where effectively it was like 20 minutes into the show of The Dark Knight, right? It was the premiere of The Dark Knight, and essentially it was right as a shooting event was taking place in the film itself, and so you had all of these like explosive devices that were going off in the actual theater itself, as far as like you had individuals watching the
Wow.
Corbin Dates was one of the victim witnesses who he claims he couldn't distinguish between the live rounds being fired from allegedly James Holmes or the actual film itself, because
Holy
they were in the middle
shit.
of a firefight in the movie.
The audio's great, it's so lifelike. You can't tell the difference. On today, they were talking to witnesses, and they were saying that at first people didn't realize it was real. They thought it was people roofing nearby.
Oh my God, dude. And
That's crazy.
That gets into the Parkland shooting, where it's like they were running a drill, and you just see all these interviews going, they were just telling us it's a drill. And that's why, and then it gets into like what really happens into these events, and it's shocking. And it's
100%.
And it's like also like what I said in the last episode is that, here we are in Minneapolis again, which seems to be this epicenter of PSYOP, right? It's just PSYOP utopia, where just like all these crazy things are coming out, just like Broward County used to be that.
Yeah,
Where like
yes.
every single thing that came out, whether it was 9/11, school shooting, who's the kid that got kidnapped and they found his head?
Elliot? Oh, no.
Oh, you remember his dad went on to run that America's Most Wanted?
Oh, yes. Oh, God. What was his name? The America's Most Wanted guy.
Adam, what was
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Right now, people at home are shouting it
no.
out, and 5 of us are just
You talking about the host of it?
yeah, who's
Yeah,
the-
John Walsh.
Adam Walsh. That was out of there as well. So you have these things constantly coming out Broward County. Now it looks like
Right.
Minneapolis is the new one. Where
The
we're
Sheriff Israel's going to move. He's going to show up. He's now in Minneapolis.
Yeah, 100. I got pulled from Hawaii over to here, and they're like, I don't know, man, just bad luck, I guess.
Oh my
and
God.
and it's again like it's like people have been saying forever. It's like they're going to hit the emotional epicenters where they're going to be able to pull our emotional strings the most.
You know what else was Broward County? Was the hanging Chad. Remember that?
Yeah, oh, yeah,
That was
yeah,
Broward
yeah,
County.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's PSYOP Central, it's PSYOP Utopia.
You think this has anything to do with the National Guard? You think Minneapolis is going to be like, bring the National Guard at this point? Because what if they would have been there?
No.
Yeah,
I don't
could see
think so.
that.
I mean, listen, I know that they had the National Guard in the No Kings thing. And the last time I remember National Guard was the Rodney King riots, right? So it's usually something like that.
COVID, too.
But the bringing of the National Guard in the Washington D.C. is a psyop to me. It's because it's a sovereign territory. He can do that right there without technically doing it on American soil. So it's like it's a little.
I mean, I remember seeing him rolling down Melrose during the BLM riots too. Remember that?
Oh yeah,
That
yeah,
was-
yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, that was weird, bro.
That was weird.
That was weird.
But so you saw that?
I saw them. Yeah, they
Oh,
were on my
wow.
block, bro. Like armed in desert fatigues, which I thought was weird. With like APCs like rolling up the streets of Melrose, the fashion
You
district.
see the
next to
the
Lala's.
footage in DC, man. Like it's kind of laughable in a way, just as far as they're being seen picking up trash. Like I thought it was kind of hilarious.
We're
Just
gonna bring him all a
just-
pizza, Austin.
dude, it's so ridiculous to me though, because like they were like doing on the beat reporting from some sort of mainstream media publication. I can't recall which one. And essentially they're in a black neighborhood, right? An all black neighborhood. And they're just like, it looks as if they're specifically prioritizing individuals that one really have no frame of reference for the dystopian kind of really precedent setting operation that's obviously being conducted on the ground here in DC.
Yeah.
And they seem to be like making these statements where they're very much like kind of like the old conservative mentality of like, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, what do you have to worry about?
Yeah, take your
That
pants
sort of
off.
situation.
It's, I saw a black guy being interviewed. He goes, "Man, I've been pulled over more times this week than I have in all of my life."
It's so funny, dude.
Sam,
That
you
is
said something about the emotional manipulation of it. I've been reading through on my show the CIA or OSS CIA morale field manual, which is like it's like a complement, but much more in depth than the simple sabotage manual. And man, these people, they're diabolical in their strategies. Like one of the operations, tactical operations that they talk about in there is they say inducing panic in enemy populations, and the mission is to augment the feelings of insecurity, anxiety, and panic in enemy civilian population. Neurotic anxiety adds greatly to the political and administrative problems of the enemy. That's just like the surface level of what they talk about doing. They just mess with people relentlessly.
Well, it's like, okay, you're just doing that to the enemies?
Right.
You're just doing that in
Yes.
enemy territory? Is that what you want us to believe? It's so obvious you're doing that here too, to manipulate us. And that's why these shootings are so they're very specific in where they hit. Are you
Exactly.
telling me that you're a trans progressive and you don't walk into a neo-Nazi rally and start just blowing people away? Like there's things that progressives hate, and you never see them go into those things. You're not, but it's like you're hitting kids. You're hitting kids in schools. You know, if
And
you look at
hear
the
what
Vegas
he said
shooting.
on that video,
What's that?
right?
Well, you
What
look
he
at the-
said on that video, he was saying like he literally said he apologized to his family, said I love them, and then he said the kids, fuck the kids, and he like flips off the camera, and
How
it was
old was
very
he?
strange. Like he sounded like just like sort of just kind of like a punk bitch you played Call of Duty with. Like honestly, like that type of mentality is very strange. But he was clearly, I mean, it was obviously considering what transpired. Like I mean, clearly it seems a little bit more sinister as far as watching the video. But at the same time, it's like the behavior. I don't know. It's like he's singing tomorrow, tomorrow. You know,
Yeah,
legitimately.
he's mentally ill. He's on SSRIs, and he's like
That's
got
what it
all these chemicals to change his biology. His brain is shish kebab. It's a stew of crazy. It's just a stew of crazy, and it's just like it's manipulation. And again, it's like we've talked about before. What's stopping them from hitting these waves of like just energy that, these what are they called? Oh man, I'm having a bad day today. What's it called when they sneak somebody in as a candidate and he's really controlled?
Manchurian Candidate.
Well, yeah, these Manchurian candidates. You know what? They do that all the time. We've had guests come on that they have like what? How many all over the world? Where like Project Gladio, right? Like they have people all over the world that they can just with some radio wave or something like that trigger them. They go fucking crazy.
They can have handlers online, like in these. You mentioned gaming, Austin. These OCEs, online covert employees. That's what they call undercover employees who operate online that are feds, and they go and they seek out these people who keep themselves isolated, who are gamers, and they start fueling them up. Hey, I can't believe they did that shit to you. You know, I'd be pissed off if I were you. And they just build them up. They're like, hey, you need a gun? I got a gun. You know, I got
That's
a bomb,
interesting, yeah.
whatever.
So,
It's like the
And-
764 Discord, right? Where the accelerationism playbook, where
Yeah.
they
The
attempt to.
accelerationism playbook. Yep, that's it.
It's crazy, man. And you mentioned the radio frequencies, but I think that they've legitimately for decades had the ability to trigger a Manchurian with a code phrase utilizing a cell phone, like 100%, at least for quite some time now. That has been a remote device before the cell phones existed, right? That they could legitimately utilize for that purpose as well. But you had mentioned the county, like counties being sort of compromised at a certain level. And I'm very much under the impression that it's essentially, if you consider, yes, Broward County, but then also Culpeper County, Virginia. Like I couldn't even believe how that's where Sidney Gottlieb went to retire. I found out, so oh my God, dude, that's where Marion David Petty, the game caller, the cult founder of the Finders, with with the intelligence background, and his wife in the CIA, and his son working for Air America, right? And which is just a CIA
What
cutout,
a
which was
family.
passed, which was just passed off to the Epstein network, and essentially what had happened, and they call it Sidney Gottlieb was back on the farm, and it was very interesting because again, this is where it seems like spooks go to retire, but there's a lot of strange, let's just say, scandals that have occurred in this very as far as the geographical area, and I discovered something recently. It kind of blew me away. Beyond the fact that this perfectly aligns with Columbine as well, and this Littleton, right, in Littleton, Colorado, basically being the town itself is allegedly a safe community. That's what it was essentially. I heard Chris Graves on Charlie Robinson's show like years ago. Like I'm pretty sure it was a couple years ago, and I heard him come on. He basically kind of like pitched the idea that Littleton, the town itself, had a very strong footprint as far as intelligence, the intelligence community, having all of these retirees there, essentially. Claiming they had retired, but honestly, it seems as if they're serving prominent roles in terms of like facilitating cover-ups or green light go domestic operations for precedent-setting sort of pretexts. But and usually for landmark gun legislation, which is ridiculous, and you see it with even in D.C. They claim that right, didn't Pam Bondi just she just released this hilarious, or at least it was yesterday, she posted saying 87 more arrests and 4 illegal firearms seized last night in Washington, D.C., where not a single carjacking has occurred over the last week.
Shut
We
the
also
fuck up,
arrested another.
Bondi. She's awful.
Dude, it's crazy. And what did they show? 1,094 arrests, 115 illegal guns seized. Like that is what Republicans voted for, I guess. I mean, that's kind of like the funniest part, honestly, is just that this is really what you're witnessing is the dystopian totalitarian
Yes.
tiptoe, right?
Yeah, and what we see sometimes in these TikTok videos where people like, "Oh, I'm in Russia. I can walk down the street. There's no litter, there's no crime, there's no nothing," right? And you go, "Yeah, but also the government completely controls every single
Right.
aspect of your life." So these moments where you have like, okay, crime's out of control, I totally understand why we're upset about that. But just know the government's listening to everything you do. If you criticize them, you disappear. They black bag you all the time. Where do we see this? Where, oh, I can walk, there's no crime anywhere. China, Russia,
Right.
all these Eastern Bloc countries.
Look at
where-
all these hot virgins. They do that one too.
yeah. These chicks are all virgins, and then like the chicks from those areas are also filling all the brothels around the world. There's also becomes this thing where we get into this kind of totalitarian utopia where also women become assets and just are just sent all over the world to be pimped out. I mean, this is what comes. Yes, there's no crime anywhere. Well, because every aspect of your life is completely on lockdown.
Right.
And I think that it's important. You just mentioning how obviously sort of the prostitution exploitation in a certain way. I think that has obviously been longstanding by the powers that be as far as using human honeypot operations for sexual blackmail purposes. But The point I wanted to make just about the sort of compromised counties, I think it's important because it's interesting that it was described as a safe community, Littleton, Colorado, right, where Columbine effectively happened, less than 20 miles from Aurora, Colorado's Cinema 16, right, Century 16 Theater, where it would then transpire in 2012 with James Holmes. But it's interesting because clearly there's essentially there were in Columbine, there were these like FEMA comms vans that were discovered, and a U.S. Major General was on the ground. Effectively, there were like multiple shooters, at least 3 that they claimed that they saw an additional shooter. But Susan Klebold, the mother of Dylan Klebold, right, one of the alleged perpetrators, she claimed that she speculated about mind control manuals being discovered in the home of Eric Harris, Wayne Harris, which was the father of Eric Harris, who was one of the he had a strange military background. We can get into that later. I just found it interesting, the connection to the county itself. But if you consider like the prostitution exploitation that you mentioned, the reason I mentioned the farm, because this is so crazy, in Culpeper County, Virginia, because it seems to provide this explanation for the Finder's Goat Gate, which I couldn't believe this was happening. And if you consider like Judge Connerot in the Marc Dutroux case, he's the judge who helped rescue and save 2 of the young girls that were in the dungeon of Marc Dutroux in Belgium, this pedophile dungeon, right? And you had Judge Connerot break down in the witness box when he's testifying after he was removed from the essentially seeing over the trial, right, overseeing the trial, due to a conflict of interest because he attended an event on behalf of the victims' families. And so that was deemed a conflict of interest. And the judge who replaced him obviously was compromised within the framework of the network.
Unbelievable, dude.
It's crazy.
Michelle Nehul was the name of this individual. He called himself
Michelle
he was proud of the
Nehul, was that
fact-
what you said?
Michelle Nehul.
Oh.
Yeah. And he but he claims, he had he effectively claimed he had compromising tapes on King Albert in Belgium, right? Who was technically, the aristocracy, right? Where he said he had videotapes of him raping a 12-year-old boy, and that and
You're gonna have to get
essentially
rid
he
of that
said
word.
that he said he was completely insulated, and
Albert was like, it was consensual.
Well, I was trying to find yesterday a video. There's this guy that is a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and it was the craziest video, and it was so dark I didn't want to save it because I was like, that is some dark shit.
Yeah.
And then I wish I would have because I could show everybody what a piece of shit this guy is. He's being interviewed by this woman, and he's like, the boys climbed into my bed and they started playing with me. I didn't ask them to. They did it and they wanted it. So I just and he's yelling at her.
Dirty
like,
sluts.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy to watch. I don't know how that guy walks the earth, dude.
Was he a
It's
pediatrician?
crazy.
I don't
by
know. He's
chance?
a Nobel Peace Prize winner. It's like an older guy. The video looks like it's from a while ago, but it was shocking to watch.
On Instagram?
Yeah, it was one. I was gonna use it on Doomscrone, but I thought that was just too much, dude. All right, so
Hey.
Go on.
I was just going to say, you remember, you called me the other night, and I was just mentioning how I had watched Bill Cooper after Columbine, right? Just like a video of him sort of breaking down into tears over just the emotional impact it was having on him. And I know a lot of people, like to question the credibility of Bill Cooper, and I understand that. They do that with Ted Gunderson all the time. I think there's perhaps a little bit more credibility to those questions with Ted, but still, when it comes down
What's
to
the idea that they're there to muddy the water?
yeah, basically disinformation agents that are sort of controlled opposition, whether they're aware of it or not. That's where you kind of have like this inability to come to any sort of terms of agreement as far as a lot of the conspiratorial community. But where
Yeah.
obviously that's always the
So you
case.
analyze the information and you try and
Yeah.
separate from the source regardless, because people who are well-intentioned get it wrong, and people who are propagandists will tell the truth sandwiched in between 2 lies. So the safest bet, even though it's difficult to do, is to just focus on analyzing the content and deciphering that as much as possible.
Agreed, brother. That's definitely my priority at all times because it's always difficult in terms of just interpreting and attempting to discern for yourself an individual's character, obviously,
Right.
just in terms of their integrity. And that's, you can clearly be deceived. So obviously you want to make sure that you
Look
reinforce.
at everybody following Charlie Kirk. Lots of people can be deceived.
Absolutely, buddy. But I
it
will say,
is
like,
crazy.
the video.
Just real
Do what?
quick, it is crazy how a call will be made and they will just torpedo their whole thing. Like they will, like Patrick Bet David right now, who just had on Netanyahu, and you're like, why are you doing? Like you've seen what happens to everybody that brings him on. Why would you bring him on? And I
you
guess
seen
on
it?
the surface, you're like, he's like, I'll interview everybody. I'll do it the proper way. People will see. And at the end, go to the comment section. Just literally get a train. He's getting a train ran on him.
Jake's at the top of it always.
Okay, he didn't push
Yeah, I
back
saw
at
that
all.
too.
Not that I condone it, but I would assume he did better than the
Not
than
really.
the Nelk boys.
The only thing he got into, we talked about in BS, was he got
The
him to
Armenian
acknowledge-
genocide.
Yeah, the Armenian. He got Netanyahu to acknowledge it officially as the head of state of Israel. But that was it.
He didn't really say it. He's like, oh, yeah, I think we did it. Blah, 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 blah. He goes, but
Well,
have you? He
yeah.
goes, I just did. And it was just like, okay, move on. Okay, I'll
He's
move on.
such an
Yeah, he
asshole.
wasn't happy
I'd like
about
somebody to ask him, hey, you're the most progressive country in the world. You're the LGBTQ capital of the world. You have the most draconian COVID measures. You begged Fauci to experiment there. Fauci did and then called you the model. You are everything that liberals wanted to turn America into under Biden, and yet they hate Israel. And on the other side, MAGA was like, we need to vote the woke out and get Trump in so we can send all of our money to the wokest nation in the country, in the world.
Yeah.
It's baffling.
It is. And it's meant to make you not know if you're coming or going. That is the purpose of it. It's just to it goes back to what you said about just confusing the enemy. That's what they I mean, today we live in, the Democrats want the Jeffrey Epstein list released. The talking heads of the Republicans like, why do we care? What do we care? Who cares?
Trust the
man?
plan,
Let's move on, right?
I trust my friends in the administration, as Charlie Kirk would say.
Michael Tracy's career has finally matched up with his look, which is creepy as shit. Right?
Looks like he has a dungeon.
yeah.
He looks like he has a
he's
dungeon.
Yeah, right.
a dungeon. What is Joey Diaz called? Dungeon juice, right?
Oh my God.
Okay.
So Patrick, it's probably safe to say Patrick Bet David didn't ask about the cybersecurity pedophile that was whisked away back to Israel and protected, obviously, after he committed those crimes in Vegas, luring a retarded child. I mean, basically, right? Isn't that what happened? He was luring a child with disabilities,
yeah.
like, yeah, and into.
Did he want it? Is the question.
No, that's basically Mike Tracy's his whole thing. He's like, they're just dudes trying to bang, man. They just want to bang. It's just adult
crazy.
app. I just want to bang. It's like, dude, it's like he's like pedo panic, and I'm like, bro. And I just listed everything that's been proven true. Even if you think that the story isn't quite what is being told, the passion in which you've decided to label this pedo panic, like we're all acting out of pocket, like this isn't as big of a deal, is just career suicide.
It's crazy because after Epstein got out the first time, there were a handful of people who he funded. This came out in court documents, that plea letter that I talk about all the time that nobody ever talks about. It had those 5 guys on there who helped him get that deal, and 3 of them we know at least took money after he got out. And their job afterwards, and they aggressively did it, especially the guy at Harvard, Martin Novick, lobbied for Epstein, put him back on the website. He's not what they say he is. They had a pretty elaborate campaign to whitewash his reputation and rebuild his brand. And that's going on right now with people like Michael Tracy. I'm just wondering, is he doing it for free or somebody paying him?
I mean, I understand, like, kind of like, trying to go against the grain a little bit. There's sometimes there's some like
a weird one,
political cachet in that. But when it comes to pedophilia, it's just like, why? What are you doing? Like, why are you doing it? And it sounds to me like it's just one of those things where a guy has been a high profile person in a sea of influencers, And it's like there's all these influencers. Why are these certain people promoted over other people? And it just seems like this has been all astroturfed.
Yeah, modern mockingbird is my favorite way to put it, honestly, because like so many of these covert operations, right? Like MK Ultra, perfect example as well. You know, they never ended. They were effectively driven underground for plausible deniability purposes after the church committee hearings, which, by the way, I just found an incredible claim about potentially Frank Church being entrapped by a child prostitution operation and that he was completely controlled during that time, and that Richard Helms was potentially sort of attached to that in a way with Alan Dulles and Sidney Gottlieb, and effectively compromised him by entrapping him
Oh
with this
my
child
God,
prostitute.
dude. And that's
And
basically
this-
what they thought about McCarthy, right? And
Yes.
like that Ray Cohen, is that his name? The guy was
Roy Cohn.
kind of
Yep.
just like was Cohen, yeah. Cohen just was
Yep.
like manipulating from behind. Real quick before you get going, can you play that video real? Okay.
Yeah, I just sent it to him.
It's so
The guy's
insane.
name is Dr. Daniel Carlton Gajusek. It's probably a silent J in there, but he worked with the NIH and he won the
Oh, of
Nobel
course. There
Peace
we
Prize
go.
in '76 for his work in infectious disease.
I mean,
Oh
dude,
my God.
just the worst of the worst, right? Are you okay?
Talking about hundreds of kids
What?
with this
Sending
guy.
it over right now.
It looks like you're texting something.
Well, I texted it to him.
Oh, okay.
and then he's
Right. So, but how many kids did he save with his infectious disease work and probably vaccine development?
Yeah, how many? It's crazy times, dude. It's just crazy ass times.
That is crazy. The Epstein guy, Novik, one of his studies of focus is also infectious diseases, and he was one of the guys they consulted with on how to create incentives to just get people to shut up and take the jab. It's so weird.
What about
alike
our
these
other
people are.
co-host? Is he anywhere
Martin
in this?
Seligman, who is Epstein's $100 million man behind the curtain, the head of the brainwashing industrial complex in the U.S. He has been for years. Ted Kaczynski's work was influenced by him. His book, he learned helplessness. He tortured dogs. It was then used to create the CIA torture program after 9/11. The Guantanamo Bay program. At a couple meetings they had where Seligman himself even said there was Israeli intelligence there. He inspired the work of an Australian a doctor who did similar work on other animals and then died mysteriously in I can't remember which country, but at the time he had been accused of doing Seligman's learned helplessness
I don't
studies,
think that's it, dude.
except he was doing it on children, and that is Nicole Kidman's father,
Yes.
Anthony Kidman.
Anthony Kidman. Yep.
And the guy then he had Epstein. He helped Epstein get the deal. Epstein funded his work from 2003 on. He got $31 million no big contract to create a brainwashing to do an experiment on the army. And that's why you're never going to hear any of this stuff, because this guy is an 82-year-old psychologist who has been the deep state psychologist for decades. He's more powerful than the president. He is considered in these elite academic rankings the most influential psychologist in the world. He's currently conducting a study worldwide using social media language to create psychological resiliency scores. That policy can be created around the more psychological resilient you are, the more conforming you are, the more you see that as a virtue, and the less so, the more of a problem you
Yeah.
the highest levels of these behind the scenes operators they're being paid to brainwash and have been for decades are why we're never going to actually see real Epstein shit, because they need them and they're still using them.
100%.
This guy for hundreds of
A
victims.
year?
Yeah, a year.
I love his argument. He's like, I'm too sexy. I'm too sexy.
Yeah, he's just like, what? They're running in my bed. What am I supposed to do? I
He
mean,
needed
like,
his Nobel Prize behind him on the counter.
Who am I to kick them out of bed?
yeah, and like, how do you interview that guy without effing losing it on him?
You want me to for sure.
How do you do
No
that?
way, I couldn't.
And he has that face, like you said, Sam. Like immediately, I was like, "This is the guy y'all are talking about."
Yeah, nobody who's
Oh yeah,
interacted
with
that guy's not
the
scarred.
skin, like you can tell by
Yeah.
their
Yes.
skin.
Yeah.
Pedos have a weird skin. It looks like cheese,
That Prince Andrew's, the Prince Andrew skin.
right? It's
looks
all
like it.
Right.
Look at that. It's got weird,
Just a
weird
lot of ugly
texture.
dudes, man. It's
Well,
a lot of ugly
well, a lot
dudes.
of them are just, a lot of them just can't talk to grown-up women. They're intimidated, so they work kids.
Or they were abused, of course. We know
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
Right.
so listen, I want to get into two things, and then we'll go off for a little bit. But I want to get into L.I.B.O.R scandal. Can we get into that and then get into the program that Columbine was? We'll get into that after. But
Absolutely.
both these things blew my mind. So where do you want to start on that?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I think it's probably best to start with the connection where I discovered the L.I.B.O.R scandal was in terms of how it came across my radar was that obviously James Holmes' father was directly connected into the scandal, but it's important to understand what the L.I.B.O.R scandal really was, because it's very interesting, essentially, in terms of what they were attempting to do in terms of like rigging international finance rates. If you want to understand how much, and by the way, the essentially, and it's so fascinating to me because this is overlapping directly with Sandy Hook, and this all occurred right within less under 4 months. Okay, it was around a 3-month period, I believe, if it was June, right, as far as the 2012, whenever the James Holmes event occurred. And then here, let me pull up this because this is fascinating stuff when you actually like read through what's happening in terms of the L.I.B.O.R scandal itself, which was this manipulation of the London interbank offered rate L.I.B.O.R by several major banks. Now, this is a benchmark interest rate, right? Crucial for setting and borrowing costs for various financial products, including mortgages, corporate loans, right? This is all effectively between 2003 to 2012 that the real scandal is taking place. So consider the major economic crisis as well in '08, the housing crisis that occurred, clearly being wrapped up into a lot of this manipulation and corruption. And so, yeah, the scandal itself is publicly exposed in 2012, which led to this investigation. And so then you had individuals who are essentially caught up in the investigation and set to testify later on in the year 2012. And basically, they inevitably, I believe, even had to change off and pivot away from the original L.I.B.O.R, just the actual L.I.B.O.R sort of international finance system itself to a new system that was replaced called SOFR, I believe, SOFR, Secured Overnight Financing Rate. And this all was implemented by 2023, apparently. But the way that it came up, and as far as my radar specifically, was that there are essentially, in my mind, two whistleblowers that were effectively silenced that were set to testify, and one of which happens to be the father of
You
James Holmes.
set it up because what they need to know is who these guys are and what did they discover, because this is like sets up how deep the corruption is and what they'll do to cover it up.
Right. So James Holmes, first of all, it's important to understand like the glowing family background of the father of James Holmes, just so you understand. Clearly, this was no coincidence in my mind, but obviously you have the father, which is very strange that this is even as far as Dr. Robert Holmes. Now consider the fact that the mother of James Holmes was also a psychiatric nurse, but that can play into the actual event itself, obviously, in in sort of NLP, right, neuro-linguistic programming and everything else involved. But Dr. Robert Holmes, he had a PhD in statistics in 1981 from the University of California at Berkeley. He worked for San Diego-based HNC Software Inc. Incorporated from 2000 to 2002. Now, HNC is known as a neural network company, and DARPA, beginning in 1998,
oh my God,
was working on developing fortronic neural networks, which would allow machines to interpret oral and visual stimuli to think like humans.
Yep.
And so
and
he
this
was
in the 90s.
It's like 98, I think.
Oh my God.
He also did 2 studies for the Navy and the Marine Corps on how to forecast personnel changes using tree classifications, which is basically predictive behavioral modeling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Exactly.
God.
And as well, because again, if you consider the notion of green lighting a sort of strategic asset, like again, prioritizing sort of political assets and their children. That is really what it is. Like, and I
Yes.
just found that in terms of the Vegas judge, right? Considering that crazy connection to the cybersecurity professional answering directly to Bibi Netanyahu. It turns out this judge, which is crazy to me to consider the idea, and this is how it works. And again, if you want to understand, just at least catching a glimpse into how these scandals are effectively covered up at the legal level, I think that it's important to understand that essentially there are like high level, you know, targeted assassinations utilizing various, strategic assets, whether they be paramilitary organizations or just this private network. They even have utilized in the context of like the RFK assassination, Thane Eugene Cesar. He's working with the Howard Hughes, sort of his under that umbrella in the private sector, which was providing this plausible deniability. But what was he? He was effectively a hitman for the mob.
Oh
And
my
so
God.
he's just being like, they provided him this sort of alibi of moonlighting as a security guard at the Ambassador Hotel for like just a couple of days prior to the event transpiring. And so he could be strategically in place and usher RFK very
Isn't that
quickly.
with John Lennon too? Like they say
Yes.
there were spooks all over his apartment complex.
And it has
Exactly.
phones tapped. And, all kinds of stuff. We
Unbelievable.
found out about it in the Nixon, when all the shit about Nixon came out, that he actually was being followed. They tried to get him kicked out of the country.
There was a spy scandal in the Nixon administration called the Moore-Radford affair, and it's fascinating. They were basically there was an internal spy operation on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, it's very interesting how much they were trying to set up like a private intelligence apparatus that wouldn't answer to the CIA, and effectively that was entirely undermined with I forget what something Houston essentially was like the CIA's guy on the inside who was, but it doesn't matter. Point being, it's just important to understand how these scandals are really covered up at the, I think, just in terms of the sort of legal implications and the consequences themselves, just escaping any real accountability. And then obviously they always find the plausible patsy to sort of like take the fall for the wider network.
Yes, that's what they do. That's RFK, his dad. That's what they did. They think the sheriff behind him is the one who actually shot and killed him, not Sirhan Sirhan. He thinks that as well. Like JFK, all the gunfire from all over the place, blaming a patsy. I mean, even again, going back to that Parkland shooting, they were just like, that young chick was like, he was running with me. I don't know how they said it was him. Like, who knows what happened to that chick?
Oh, yeah. And Lisa Peace, she wrote A Lie Too Big to Fail. It's a pretty good book on the RFK assassination. And she believes that Sirhan was firing blanks when he was in the pantry that day. And essentially, all of the necessary, sort of the necessary formula was perfectly represented as far as how you would trigger a Manchurian with prior, clearly he had been sort of in a hypnotic trance so very often in the past that once there was a psychiatrist, an expert psychiatrist on the during the trial that basically put him into a hypnotic trance and had him perform a monkey routine in jail. And he said he shouldn't be this suggestible, basically, is what he was claiming. But what Lisa Peace claims is that, he was just firing blanks for distractionary tactic, while the true obvious hitman and the priority assassin, the professional, was firing the shots at point blank range just behind his ear, right? And that's why he fell back on top of Thane Eugene Cesar, who then gets rid of the weapon in this very underhanded way, which is
why he shoots blanks, because everyone behind RFK is a part of the plot, so they don't want them hitting any of them. So he
what did he
blanks, nobody gets hit, and then the only guy gets hit is the intended target.
Exactly. And Sirhan gets tackled to the ground, and he's still in this hypnotic state where he can't stop firing he's just over and over firing this imaginary weapon that's no longer even in his hands, which to me is crazy, because when they put him in the trance during the trial as well, they walk him through it, basically leading the witness, and say, the gun is in your hand now, Sirhan, right? And he just starts convulsing and uncontrollably pulling an imaginary trigger, and all he could say is he's talking about coffee. That's the last thing he can remember when he's in the pantry and he sees the woman in the polka dot dress, who I believe is Elaine Neal, in the black polka dots, right? Which, again, if you're considering like all the different sensory just sort of like the touch, the smell, the taste, essentially she like, and then having the audible sort of key phrase that she would then whisper in his ear just before he would effectively enter the trance, where he saw targets in his eyes and thought he was at the shooting range, which was where he had been sort of subliminally given his set of instructions, which he would then carry out. But again,
Mark David Chapman was like that. He would get phone calls and they would repeat over and over the same phrase on the phone call. Over and over and over again. So we go back to this L.I.B.O.R thing. You have these two guys. They work with FICA, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of them worked with FICA. The other one worked with a General Motors, didn't he?
Yeah, it's and that is of course Adam Lanza's father, which is that itself is fascinating, right? Where you have
a tax
both,
guy, I think.
Mm-hmm. You have both Adam Lanza and James Holmes as these obviously being represented as their fathers being involved here. And this is very strange, clearly, because you have Peter Lanza, VP Tax Director at GE Financial, right? And then you have, and he's of course the father of Adam Lanza, Newtown, Connecticut, Sandy Hook, the father of
who, by
Aurora,
the way,
Colorado.
said his son loved Ron Paul, and he was a big Second Amendment guy.
Interesting. That's
Which
kind of
one?
hilarious.
Lanza was a
honestly.
big Ron Paul guy.
That's what that's what his dad said in an interview.
Johnny's like that.
Yeah.
I've always been suspicious.
Well, I mean, it's probably just another sling thrown against Ron Paul.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't
That's
doubt
what
that.
it. Yeah,
Right?
That's what
it
felt
makes
like.
sense.
What, the kid writes Israel on his gun?
Yeah.
I mean, then they're going off on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
so
and
crazy.
he wrote Ted K as well. He wrote Vicky Weaver. I was like, no, you bastard! How dare you? But it's just it was crazy to me to see that he put Holmes and Lanza on there as well. Obviously, it makes sense that he's sort of evoking this kind of pre-laid template, right, in a certain
Are you saying
way.
the shooter today did that?
Yeah, the Minneapolis
his
mass
gun.
shooter.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Kick a spick was something he had on one of them as well, and
Sorry, buddy.
yeah, I'm sorry, Don.
We would never do that here.
I know you guys wouldn't. Thank you. Thank you for the apologies.
This is LA's number one poker player.
We love beaners around here.
Yeah. We love our
But yeah,
space.
he Israel must fall, right? Like a phoenix, we rise from the ashes. That was one that he put.
Well,
He
you get
in
some
his
things
like
right,
manifesto. There's a picture of him. It looks like, now this is in like looks like some sort of Russian. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure.
Of
It could
course,
be.
let's link it to that as well. Let's link it. I'm
Right.
sure we'll find Iran
love
connection somehow. Like he loved
Honestly.
falafel from this Iranian
He was
restaurant.
radicalized at a shawarma place.
Yeah, he's radicalized at a shawarma place.
It's so crazy though. Like the symbol that he used as well was apparently that the same symbol used on the 4th of July shooter from 2024, Robert Cremo or whatever his name was. And he used that same symbol that looks like a sort of nihilistic, sort of neo-Nazi, satanic symbol. It reminds me of the Process Church in a way, of the Final Judgment, where they kind of like create their own swastika in a way. But it seems like much of this is about obtaining some sort of immortality, which is like an ancient belief system of like that was really kind of like in Scandinavia and the Viking cultures and much of like this sort of it reminded me a lot of like the Nordic pantheon and this belief system that is so often represented in like this Odinism belief system, right? This modern day representation of these Nordic beliefs, which are very strange.
Vikings.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Dude,
The Vinlander
Vikings
group,
have
right?
Trans.
Dude, I'm telling you, like
Were
they
there trans
practice blood
Vikings out there?
sacrifice.
Hiya.
they practice blood sacrifice though, like utilizing, essentially these ancient runes, right? That effectively sort of stand as like these symbols. If you remember the Delphi
I mean, I see I
murders,
can
right?
program a kid with stuff like that to get them
Exactly.
thinking that they're like, living.
We'll
that.
get into the programming. We'll get into that because
Yeah.
Austin brought something up on the show that was pretty mind blowing when it came to Columbine. But
Right.
so go on.
Peter Lanza, right, as far as his connections there as tax director for General Electric. And by the way, that's the corporation that paid zero taxes on the $14.2 billion in profits that they achieved that very same year, which I think is hilarious. And so Peter Lanza scheduled to testify in the ongoing
he's a good
global
tax guy,
L.I.B.O.R
is what you're
scandal in
saying.
2000. Right.
Is he
in
still
2000
working
exactly.
in taxes? I'd like to hire him.
So he effectively was scheduled to testify, right? Just as Robert Holmes was. And it's very interesting because this is all happening within that strange moment in time in 2012, just before both of their children, both of their sons would be,
What they were going to testify, according to what you told us on the show, was that they had discovered that banks and corporations were artificially inflating and deflating their stock prices to the tune of ready for this number? $350 trillion.
Oh.
350 trillion.
That's when those numbers doesn't even make sense.
Doesn't even make
Yeah.
sense. It doesn't even make sense.
Might as well be
Not at all.
infinity dollars. It's like,
to the tune of infinity dollars.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's so
Right.
much. What's that?
And to
350,000 billions?
Dude, I don't know. That's
Like-
it's a lot of zeros.
A lot.
Yeah, fill half of Stacey Abrams' vagina.
got her in. We got to take shots at her all the time.
Got her in.
So they were going
Oh
to
my God.
testify in front of either Senate or Congress. I don't know which one it was, but they were going to testify that corporations and banks are illegally inflating and deflating their stock prices.
Right. Yeah. It was essentially. This is very interesting because obviously you have if you're considering the what sort of Robert Heck Nielsen, the corporation that James Holmes' father, Robert Holmes, was affiliated with, that was then a sort of later on it evolved into FICO, right? Which is interesting. This is all happening where he's working for H&C Software as a chief scientist, and basically H&C merges with the Minneapolis-based Fair Isaac Corporation, which that happened just around 98, 99, I believe, somewhere around there. Where you had this merger, and essentially this, of course, is a computer analysis decision-making company that Robert Holmes continued to work for at FICO. And so then it emerges that when also I think it's very important to remind ourselves that James Holmes, when he's 20 years old, he works as a camp counselor at Camp Max Strauss of the Jewish Big Brothers and Sisters of Los Angeles, which I found very
of
interesting.
course.
Oh my God.
Always.
They're always involved.
For real, man. And according to this Jewish journal, among other tasks that Holmes helped to, as far as with, he helped to teach boys between the ages of 7 to 10 in how to become sort of at least above novice in archery, apparently. And so now this is very interesting because the consideration of really the history of this language institute, which James Holmes is the grandson of Lieutenant Colonel Robert Holmes, who's one of the first Turkish language graduates of the Army Language School.
It's a
Which
Mayflower
later-
family too, by the way. his
That's what they,
family.
yeah. Exactly. That blew me away when I found that out, that he was sort of that old aristocratic family, dynasty, the dynastic nature of things. Like, it doesn't surprise me, but at the same time, like, it's kind of fascinating to actually see the fact that some of his ancestors came to the U.S. on the Mayflower, and so he has this English ancestry allegedly, which is just insane. But again, it's par for the course if you're considering how they sort of like the dynastic factor involved in so many of like these one, not only the intelligence sort of you just have like again this overrepresentation of children who seem to be right the just children of these intelligence families who have these very mysterious backgrounds that seem to be entirely drenched in covert operations, right? And then and that was the same thing as far as Wayne Harris is, right? They claimed that he was involved with behavioral modification, and that's why he went to Littleton in the first place. But
absolutely. I mean, it's the same type of research that those guys, Epstein's guys that he funded, Seligman and Novick, similar type of research that it sounds like Robert Holmes did. This behavioral what blows me away about it is that he was a behavioral prediction and risk assessment data scientist at FICO, which they use that modeling to determine predict our behavior and our risk so they can create credit scores for us to decide what we can and cannot do. Yet, if we accept the official story, he was unable to predict his own son's risk and his own son's behavior. And yet we're bound to our credit scores. You should throw the whole FICO system out.
So basically what happens is they discover that, these corporations are doing this and they're about to testify and they never do because scandal breaks out, a giant two impact events, which are only, 40 minutes away from each other or 40 miles or whatever that number is.
Less than 20 miles.
Less than 20 miles away from each other, their kids shoot up a school and a movie theater.
Oh, well, no, less than 20 miles is Columbine. But the Adam Lanza connection, though, is through the sort of FICO connection there, right? Which obviously that's because it was Newtown, Connecticut was where the Sandy Hook school shooting took place,
so
right?
Sandy Hook and it's Aurora are where the two incidents. And are they near each other?
No, I don't really think they're that close together, but I do think that what was interesting to me about the geographical location of Aurora was the less than 20 miles from Columbine, right? Which again, you had victims. This is the craziest statement as far as during the jury selection of the trial of James Holmes. That this was in 2015. You basically had this jury selection process that was kind of like sort of. It was unprecedented as far as the number of jurors who were called. So essentially they summoned 9,000 candidates and this was the largest jury summons in U.S. history. And April 15th of 2015 is when they ended the jury selection with a total of 19 women and 5 men. And this was very strange because obviously concerns arose in terms of the selection of the jurors because at least 2 from the pool of 12 primary jurors, along with 12 alternates, had ties to the 1999 Columbine High School massacre. And juror number 535 happened to be the aunt of a Columbine survivor. Bureau number 737 was a student there at the time and was also a former friend of the shooters Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold and was on the jury for James Holmes, which again caused a lot of people to obviously claim that this could very well be a conflict of interest at the very least. Right.
That's good work by the prosecution. When it comes to striking the jurors, it may be a little bit. Maybe they had it was in their favor, but that's crazy.
It is. It's insane to me. But again, it's like both Peter Lanza and Robert Holmes, right? They're effectively set to testify before the Senate. It was the U.S. Senate in the ongoing L.I.B.O.R investigation, and so it was basically these. They were just rigging the interest rate at which banks could borrow from each other, which was obviously a strategic way of compromising the international finance. It just, again, it's like
billions,
trillions of dollars, dude.
Yeah,
so crazy.
Made themselves look stronger during the crisis in 2008.
And what were they?
Nuts.
They made how much? 350 something trillion essentially was kind of the number that was floated out there.
Yeah.
And then you have the fact that they were only fined 1.9 billion. Right.
And nobody, there was a couple people who were prosecuted, but then they were later overturned and stuff. So just they were like, fuck it, it's cool.
Exactly.
So crazy, dude. That's how deep the corruption is and what they're willing to go through, what they're willing
It's
to
crazy.
do to hide the corruption.
Right. Yeah, and again, it's like these are contracts being completely rigged for trillions of dollars of profit, and clearly there was no real accountability whatsoever, as you mentioned, Brad. Low-level traders were the only ones who were essentially, and it was just a handful that were kind of caught up and given these minor sentences, which just to me it goes to show that this was all by design in the first place, and unfortunately too much was exposed, so therefore they had to have some sort of public transparency and claim as if there was a convenient solution that they would reach, right? Obviously that would appease the public in terms of the general public a reaction or to this being exposed. But again, it's like, man, if you consider the idea that James Holmes' grandfather, right, as I mentioned, who's a part of the Monterey Language Institute, which again, it's like they claim Lee Harvey Oswald attended the Monterey Language Institute, and they claim that's where he was taught how to speak so fluently in Russian before he entered the fake defector program at the Atsugi Air Force Base, right? And essentially
Holy shit.
and he,
Fake
oh yeah,
defector program?
a fake defector program. And it's such a crazy story because obviously if you remember the sort of revelation of the method with Carrie Thornley, who was stationed with Lee Harvey Oswald, right? And it's just like the most ridiculous story as far as the
Crazy.
right, in terms of
It's never like a foster kid from Queens who shoots up a place. It's always somebody with a deep CIA background.
absolutely. I think with the fictional Oswald story, right? It to me, it goes to lends credibility to the sheep dipping aspect of Atsugi and the MK Ultra connection there, because again, it's like they were running behavioral modification experiments on individual test subjects who were in the military at the Atsugi Air Force Base, which is where he was stationed before he was sent. So in the fake defector program, basically everywhere he went, the U-2 spy plane, or the B-2, what was it? U-2 spy. I'm pretty sure that's what it was named at the time. I forget. It was state-of-the-art spy plane at the time that was sort of, conducting this the covert surveillance, right, over the airspace of the Soviet Union. And everywhere Lee Harvey Oswald went, this spy plane followed. So it seemed as if he was.
Whoa.
Yeah, they said he was on an intelligence dangle. He was sent there to effectively say. So it was essentially he has. It was very interesting because this is Marine Air Station El Toro in California, where Oswald was shipped off to the top secret naval air facility in Atsugi in Tokyo. And that's essentially where I think much of this took place because he was a part of the aircraft surveillance and training in terms of. This was in it was U-2 spy flights over the Soviet Union.
And this is where Robert Holmes, or the grandfather, was.
This was where Robert Holmes was hanging out. Yeah, he was a graduate and was trained at the Monterey Language Institute, right? And so I always
the grandfather's involved too.
Yeah, had to have been in my mind.
God.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, honestly, as far as I'm discovering so many examples now of like these families, these dynastic families involved in intelligence operations, specifically in the sort of behavioral modification, clandestine, covert. They seem to utilize their children in these experiments. Now, this came up even in the Johnny Gosch case when he was abducted. They claimed that the father of Johnny Gosch, this was according to Noreen Gosch, his mother, says that, and Paul Benassi said the same thing, who was a victim in the Franklin scandal.
Yeah.
And essentially said that Johnny Gosch, just before he was abducted and kidnapped by, I'm pretty sure I know the individuals who were a part of it, and I think John Wayne Gacy was one of them. But hey, that's another story. But I'm still saying, like, what allegedly happened is Johnny Gosch was taken by his father to Offutt Air Force Base, and this was a hub, a strategic hub for what they called the Monarch Boys training, right? And Paul Benassi.
God.
Yeah, man. So
do these parents?
that to me,
do you think these parents get paid, or do you think it's just they're already in the game, or like, because I mean it's your kid, right?
Dude, I've struggled with that myself, just trying to make sense of how you could be such a psychopath or just sociopathic in a way to where you would prey upon your own child.
Because it's
Well,
kind of.
I mean, we talked about that in the episode that's coming out after this about what Michael Malice says about white liberal women, that they're willing to sacrifice their children for, to be seen as this like queen of the woke, where it's like, look how trans my kid is. I'm the most open-minded mom out there.
This kind
To
of
get in the
reminds me,
club.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of the series The Boys, how the parents know that the kids are going to become superheroes in the kind of way they trade them in for money. I don't know if they end up getting money, but in the movie The Boys, they get dejected by something, and the parents know, but the parents tell the kids that they didn't know that they have superpowers. But at the end of the day, the government injected them, and it just seems like, did you get money for that?
Any of these actors?
It's like the parents of Hollywood
yeah,
kids.
That's it. Yeah, any of those that know they're putting their kids into the meat grinder of Hollywood. I mean, kids get chewed up and spit out by that place, and they still take them and they leave them alone with there's a very real casting couch situation still now for children.
Dude,
In
totally.
the city.
And you know what I believe? I believe the Me Too movement was to take the heat off of pedophilia and place it on adults. So it
sure
just
did it.
became like, oh, dude, they're doing grab ass on Baywatch. Wow. And then nobody's talking about. And that's my opinion on like, they kind of try to take, I know this is going to sound like the craziest thing ever, but they tried to take like the heat off of like Harvey Weinstein and Epstein, all that, and kind of put it on Chris D'Elia. And they were trying to make it seem like look at the monster of Hollywood right here. And don't look at over here at these guys who are like involved in like the dark arts occult shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when's Candace Owens going to take up the case of Epstein like she did?
Oh, she loves
Well,
doing
she's a
that.
contrarian, isn't she? I mean, she loves defending the.
I mean, do you think the Harvey thing, there's anything behind it, or you really just think she's a contrarian there?
Yeah.
No, I think he's a scumbag. You have people who knew him and what he was operating under. He was a scumbag. And then like he constantly talked about he used in his private Mossad intelligence group, and then I think it was Nick Kroll's dad. That's the craziest part. I always talk about like how like it's really crazy that Steve Renazizi gets all the shit about 9/11 and Nick Kroll doesn't from the show The League. It's like, oh, Steve Renazizi, bad guy. Nick Kroll's dad and his brother conveniently didn't go to work that day at the Twin Towers. Like, how lucky are they that they didn't show up that day? I mean,
I think there's a good question though. So Harvey Weinstein's a dirtbag. Was there violations of law that were proven? I didn't follow that case closely enough.
But it goes back to like Monica Perez talks about Bill Cosby, being the guy that he's been made out to be.
That one would be hard to swallow.
She's talked about. She's like,
well, he made a deal with one of the victims, and as part of that deal, they were not allowed to prosecute him for what they ended up prosecuting him for. So they were in violation of it. So he should not have gone to jail because he had already made a deal. So it wasn't like he was like a good guy.
Is that what she's saying?
Well, her argument is that like Quaaludes back then were like Coke, and everybody wanted them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just Quaaludes, right?
So funny.
No, they're basically spiking their drinks with Quaaludes.
Oh, another thing that Adam Lanza's dad said that I thought was funny. He was like, yeah, and we took him to see Bill Cosby. He loved him. That was also in his interview.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
No,
I didn't realize that. That is so funny. I know XG, you asked like this as far as the being willing to sacrifice your own child. Like that came up specifically with this individual who honestly, she testified in the 50s, named Claudia Mullen, and it blew me away because I just kind of like discovered this strange connection to during that period in the early and mid 50s. There would seem to be this dilemma that was honestly the intelligence community was effectively grappling with at this time, and it was essentially about. Obviously, they were already pursuing and practicing and utilizing these sort of deviant sexual practices for human honeypot operations, but this was specifically about using child prostitutes in that sort of framework, right? And so it seems as if there was an additional sub-project. We already know the 149 sub-projects of MK Ultra that existed. One of them being obviously to manufacture Manchurian candidates and split personality spies that could pass polygraph tests after committing various crimes, you know, even targeted assassinations, and have no real recall or memory of it. Similar to that of Sirhan, who came out of the trance after performing the monkey routine, had zero memory of doing so. And the psychiatrist was like, this is honestly, this is I've never seen anyone with that has been so suggestible as far as psychologically, which to him sort of the implication was that he had been hypnotized and put into this trance to be programmed with subliminals many times in the past, right? And that's what that sort of they were alluding to in that sentiment. But what's fascinating to me is that when the church committee hearings took place, right, in 75, right, you have Richard Helms in 72 essentially destroying thousands of files. Now, this all was, I believe, in regard to utilizing child prostitutes for human honeypot operations. And I believe that many different files, obviously those would be of priority, top priority as far as the destruction. If you would, if you're considering transparency, I already believe that what was provided to William Colby, wasn't it Colby or was it Casey? I can't remember. I think it was Colby who was like the spokesperson on behalf of the agency during the hearings. And he's the one who even trotted out the what was the gun, right, that had essentially it could
Heart
essentially
attack gun.
the heart attack gun. Yeah, that was it. It was the heart attack gun, and then they also they trotted out this ice. It was kind of like, do what?
The Havana syndrome, is that the other one you're talking about?
No, that was much later.
I think that's later, because the other one that I'm thinking about is like basically they figured out a way to essentially
Targeted individuals shit.
The voice
Well,
of God
I mean-
things every time.
Yeah.
We're just
No,
yelling
it's
out stuff at this
well,
point.
look, that is definitely a factor, and I discovered that as well. Which, but apparently, this goes back to if you're talking like early on mind control experimentation. It turns out that there's a document from the Artichoke document files, right, that outlines. It's from January 7th, 1953, and it's called Outline of Special H Cases, which to me is hypnotism cases, right?
Yeah.
And because in the context of the document, it says in all of these cases, these subjects have clearly demonstrated that they can pass from a fully awake state to a deep H-controlled state via the telephone.
Jesus.
This is in 53.
It's
Via
diabolical.
some very
Man.
It's so
It is.
crazy.
They're not going to spend 20 years doing MK Ultra experiments and then just stop.
Yeah.
That's
It's like,
Chapman,
why
right?
would you give up
100%.
that power?
That's Chapman, like you were saying. That's 100% what he had, where they would do the
Oh,
phone
dude.
calls with him.
He shoots John Lennon and just sits down and reads Catcher in the Rye,
Yeah.
like
and they-
waiting
he
to be
traveled
apprehended
the
by the
world
authorities.
through the YMCA, which has always been a front for the CIA. You know, it goes again. The connections between intelligence and the Vatican, and how they realize why should we have a military everywhere when we'll just open these churches and YMCA's all over the place. Send in people as religious figures like priests and stuff, when they're really just intelligence agents.
All those old naked men in the YMCA bathroom.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I remember one time
You know-
when I used to go to the Y, I walk in, it was just this one naked old guy, and he was just literally washing his balls in the sink when the shower was 2 feet away. The shower was 2 feet away, and he was just like, yeah, just washing my balls. That's all I'm doing.
Oh my God.
Old
Well,
people
knowing
need to
how
feel comfortable
all
with
of
it.
these youth organizations are strategically, exploited by these sinister pedophiles, it's like, man, Nick Bryant's been following Lawrence E. King around for decades now, trying to blow the whistle, and all of these different child care organizations that he just so happens to surface in the midst of, attempting to surround himself with easily accessible children. which again, it's like, man,
Laura
you,
Silby, same thing, dude. Got it. Went
Laura
to,
Sills,
got arrested, tried, convicted, and Bill Clinton came in, got her out, and what'd she do? She went right to Florida and joined their version of Amber Alert. So now you got
Exactly.
somebody in there that is there when the call comes in that a kid is missing. What a great way to just divert that whole mission to save them.
Oh, and the other one that I looked into was Dare. Dare was obviously set there to learn about drugs. Like if you look into it, they knew that statistically showing us about drugs wasn't going to keep us away from drugs, and they didn't care. They ran with it, and as you can tell, they're still they're still around.
Yeah, I mean it's stupid.
Did you
That's
have
why
Dare?
James Holmes was on the same generic for Zoloft that Adam Lanza was, and Eric Harris, and Dylan Klebold, and beyond that, I think that you clearly have so many other aspects of the case. Like he becomes a patient of a specific psychiatrist just before he drops out of school and then commits the shooting. Now, what did he and Adam Lanza both refer to their psychiatrist as?
What?
The mind rapist.
Oh my God.
That's what they
They
referred to him
both
as.
said that.
They both the exact same dude. I'm not bullshitting. This is
Oh,
the
was
crazy.
it
There's
the
a
same
book called The
guy?
Mind
Was
Rapist
it
about
the same
propagandists
guy?
and shit.
Now, I know it wasn't the same guy, but I'm almost positive Adam Lanza was sexually abused and raped by a psychiatrist, by his therapist. And that makes sense because it's the monarch mind control playbook. You fracture off the neurological pathways are disrupted in the mind of a prepubescent child. And essentially, this is how you create the multiple personality disorder and exploit DID in a victim. Dissociative identity disorder, they fracture off into alters to essentially endure the sinister torture that obviously is being practiced upon them.
They get really into Ron Paul.
And apparently they can. It's ridiculous.
I mean, that is one of the surest signs that you're up to no good, right? Okay. So, John, are you guys ready to get your mind blown?
Let's do it.
Even more than it is
hell
if you
yeah.
have any mind left to blow. Okay. So at Columbine, they had a crazy program that I just found out about. We just found out about. You want to tell us about it, Austin?
Yes, sir.
This is
I would love to, honestly.
absolutely. This fits into the last episode that's going on Wednesday.
Okay.
It's so crazy. What is it?
It is insane, honestly. And when you realize that obviously you have now I just want to build it up for a moment because essentially you have Eric Harris's father, a decorated Air Force officer. Essentially he was relocating all over the country just before he retired. But again, it's like he was in the U.S. Air Force and essentially was a part of some of its most important projects, and even the B-1 bomber, I believe he was affiliated with. Sue Klebold, Dylan's mother, I had mentioned that she had heard that military documents on brainwashing techniques had been found in the Harris home, right, the home of Wayne Harris, and so there's additional research that points to essentially Plattsburgh Air Force Base, where the Harris family was located for a time. This was apparently specifically when Harris was drafted into behavior modification programs that were underway at the Plattsburgh Air Force Base. Now, it is one of the covert hubs of many of these domestic operations. And again, it fits the model of like the Fort Braggs of the world, right? That clearly seem to there are so many different scandals that are handled internally, right? Where I mean, we were talking absolute unaccountable murders, with no real motive attached, and it's very strange when you look into this. But Littleton, Colorado, was the hometown, obviously, of both Harris and Klebold, and so this happens to be where Lockheed and Martin have a major factory which ordered. It's interesting because this was ordered to be constructed in the 1950s. And essentially, you had all of these rocket and satellite contracts with classified government projects that were taking place at this specific location in Littleton, Colorado. And so this is when it gets very interesting because it was like in 1990 when you had ABC run a 2020 like special edition report.
This is crazy.
On it's fascinating. They run this special edition report about a decade before, obviously, the Columbine massacre takes place, and it was concerned with death education. And it says that it was an experimental teaching program that sought to inform students in the subject of dying and the many spiritual and psychedelic theories on what happens after death. Now, among the schools interviewed as participants in the experiment was Columbine High School, and that's where this episode was featured at, which is fascinating to me because, and I'll provide some additional sort of extraordinary allegations that were made about kind of like a degenerate sort of curriculum that was being pursued and practiced at Columbine leading up to this, where you have members of, there was a Columbine survivor named Mark Taylor who told his mom that basically he saw at school, he saw the open use of drugs, right? He saw classes consisting of just watching MTV, teachers coaching students on how to have better sex, and discussion of witchcraft is what he tells his mom, suggesting possible links to basically covert operations involved in occult trauma programming, which to me, I know that sounds outlandish, but if you consider the McMartin preschool trials that took place and how much that was obviously a part of what was being conducted in the underground tunnels, which were clearly later on proven to exist. But Mark Taylor also claims, again, remember, Columbine survivor, that obviously the shooters, and this was later confirmed, were on this specific SSRI. This one was called Lubbox, right, which is similar to Prozac. And then in 08, you have Mark Taylor, the Columbine survivor, who's making these allegations, chemically lobotomized and institutionalized in Aspen after an alleged mental breakdown in a bookstore.
Oh,
It's
my
crazy.
God.
Yes, they say that he had
In a bookstore?
yeah, that he
Do you know the
they,
circumstances surrounding that?
No, I don't know. I'm gonna have to dig further into this. I was very much considering covering Columbine in my upcoming solo project because it's too much. I've been wanting to for too long, and I'll have to do that Columbine first before I can cover Sandy Hook at some point. But because it
Don't
just
say
makes
that
more
word. Don't
sense
say
that
those
way.
words, dude.
How dare
I know
you?
it is.
How-
Lost our
it is.
website from by talking about Sandy
Dude,
Hook. It's crazy.
The
fucking
third rail,
Zoom
buddy.
just went out.
I'll-
The Zoom went out.
I'll-
No, I'm kidding.
I'll never forget. Was it Robbie Parker? Wasn't that his name? The one of the parents there
That started
at
laughing
Newtown?
before he was
And he
interviewed.
just goes, he's like pumping himself up like he's about to have to go live, right? And,
Yeah, he's going
he's just
live,
laughing, having a conversation. Then just before he goes on to do a segment on the news, he's like, it seemed like what you would do if you were trying to prep yourself for an acting role. Brad, wouldn't you think?
100%.
Never mind the photo of the kid and the shooting in like another country. It was the same kid in the
Oh yeah.
they had all the kids
Yeah.
that died. I get, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they
we
used the
showed
same faces.
we
but-
showed that photo on our website. We just said, "What's up with this?" And our entire website got taken down.
Wow.
So basically what you're saying here, Austin, is that the school was basically teaching that death is cool. Death's cool,
Yeah.
man. And what was the name of the program that they called it?
All right. So this was called the Death Education Program.
Wow.
And this was you had like a crazy example of a former Columbine student in 1985 by the name of Tara Becker, who she was at a pro-family conference in Colorado, and she was giving a speech basically, and she provided this testimony where she reports that she had a booklet that she had helped to compile for one of her school classes basically, and this booklet was called Masquerade, and it was full of subliminal pictures and prose. And Tara explained how she had been taught to use the hidden double meaning subliminals, and how she had focused so much of her time and attention on death that she herself had tried to commit suicide. And so it's fascinating because basically Tara's testimony, if you consider the idea that the producers of 2020, essentially this is what caused them allegedly to go do this special segment on the death education program, which aired in 1990, right? And they hosted this segment at the Columbine High School. And so essentially what you had this individual where Tara Becker, right, this former Columbine student, she explains that the subject of death was integrated into many of the courses at her high school. She said that death was made to look glamorous, that living was hard, and that reincarnation would solve their problems. Students were told that they would always return to, isn't that that's nuts, man? Students were told that they would always return to a much better life form.
Oh
They would
my
return to the oversoul and become like God.
Oh
After
what-
one of the students, I know it's this is like, seriously, how was this not just a sort of priority in terms of the coverage? Obviously, we know
And these are
why,
public
because-
school teachers.
right. Yeah, but you know, I'm beginning to find that some of these school districts are entirely compromised, and
yes.
I'm also under the impression that again, look, I'm dead serious. I think there could very well be you know, just credibility to the idea that there are sort of these intelligence communities that exist, right,
absolutely,
around the
dude.
domestic U.S.
Local
And it
politics are
becomes-
easy to capture.
A
Well,
whole
especially-
They
community.
become these.
Yeah, well, especially seeing that the internet made us focus on Washington D.C.
Yeah.
People stop reading their local newspapers. So now, like, you know, they were going to get rid of the local newspaper in my hometown, Cortland Standard, and this company from Ithaca bought it, and now they're making you pay to get the. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's basically on a It's like it's almost its own Substack at this point, which is super stupid because nobody's going to ever do that. I mean, even though we used to pay for newspapers back in the day, but it was really a little bit of money, not a lot. You're going to make people pay $5 to get. It's like crazy to me, but people stop reading their local news. And I also gotta say that, like, and I realized this a long time ago, even before I got into tinfoil hat the show, that the real damage that is done isn't necessarily just the nightly news in terms of like nationally. It is your local news station that is pushing and pumping so much
They're
propaganda.
parrots.
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
pushing-
they get funded by these Google News initiative, all these initiatives that just link them to the mainstream media, and they're just a little bit of a different variety of what you're getting from the MSM.
It's
Right.
crazy, dude.
And I mean, to like sort of just like really the last note on the death education program that I found was fascinating was that obviously she began to claim that well, first of all, it was the oversoul notion was very interesting. Become like God. That to me feels occult in nature. You think
Yes.
Temple of Set, the black the eternal black flame, which is allegedly this sort of belief system that you yourself can become your own God, right? And it's all it's a very strange. And Michael Aquino
This
was
is
the
part of the
founder.
education.
No, that, well, the oversoul part, yes, but I was just saying that it felt occult in nature, that specifically becoming your own God, right?
Yeah.
Becoming like God. And it fits the pattern of the New Age I believe the New Age esoteric ideological system of control. That's what it truly is. It was designed for this purpose. It was to effectively sort of lay the groundwork for the general public to embrace this inverted moral framework, right? Where these inverted moral values, right? And essentially embrace this upside down kind of more. It's a society that is clearly a deliberate, strategic sort of operation of degradation, right?
They separate from God and family and make people
Yes.
vulnerable so they can be controlled by those who are manipulated.
I mean, even
Exactly.
though AA has saved my life and it's an amazing program, if you study the history of AA, the Rockefellers funded it, and you
Right.
get into, one of the one of the first couple steps is coming to an understanding of a God of your choice. And I understand why they do that, because some people come in with a real problem with God. So they're kind of saying, like, just believe in something. I totally get that. But that is occultic.
Absolutely. And you consider who was the founder of the Temple of Set. It was Michael Aquino. And what did he co-write? He co-authored that very book. It's called MindWar and the Psychology of Victory, right? As far as this came up in the Omar Mateen episode that I covered, which is crazy, but I started with From PSYOP to MindWar, the Psychology of Victory, which he co-authored as the PSYOP research and analysis team leader, which is crazy. But again, he was former high-ranking member of Anton LaVey's Church of Satan, right? And understanding that clearly you would want to create these sort of out of whole cloth. If you're the intelligence agencies, you would want to create these sort of occult organizations to administer and sort of I think usher through these
Pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's another way you can kind of like one, if you're considering the effect that would have on the general public, if you claim that there are connections to this sort of occult organization, at face value, people seem to sort of turn a blind eye to those allegations because they already seem extraordinary. And
Right.
that feels by design as well to a certain, at least there's a certain
Absolutely.
element there. Yeah.
Yeah, they create this framework of society that people live within and things that are outside of it that they would never believe because they themselves would never do them, which enables
Yeah.
those who are in power to operate completely outside of them
Yep.
and do them all of the time.
Yep. That's exactly what it is. I would never do that because I would never do it. Bill Clinton would never do it. Barack Obama would never do it. George Bush would never do it.
An army of kids aren't crawling into my bed because I'm so sexy.
Yeah.
That guy.
Just
I'm
crawling
telling you,
in
man.
wanting it. It's just crazy to me. It's a psychological warfare on children because they're
Yeah.
most
Exactly.
susceptible. And, again, if you get into, sending in cross dressers to read to kids, like that's done purposefully to kind of confuse children. Because children, I mean, here's the thing, dude. It's just like when the evil of like child pornography, dude. It's so fucking gross. It's so gross because those kids can't say no. They're just physically can't fight back. If you have a kid who's 5 years old, you go to bed. Guess what that kid has to do? Go to bed, because if not, you're gonna pick up your child. Go. It's time to go to bed. Put them in their room. Close the door. They can't. They can't. They can't fight back. So you have these fucking scumbags who can't talk to adults, so they have to talk to kids, just physically imposing themselves on them. It's so gross. It's so gross.
Definitely. I think
And parents
that-
can be oblivious to it as well. Like, it seems like some people are so obviously predators, but they get so distracted that they don't even recognize the situation their kids might be in.
Well, I
I
always
just covered
say,
it.
if you're a grown man, you have child, and you're creating child entertainment, and you don't have kids, that is very weird.
Cash
to me.
Patel's book, dude.
That's the same
Very
thing. That's the
strange.
same thing with Disney adults
Yeah, who go
Yeah.
there?
who
Yeah.
just go. I don't care if it's you and your girlfriend. If you don't have kids, why are you there?
Nerd.
It is strange for sure.
It is really
I think-
weird, because a lot of
Oh,
guys
yeah.
get into entertainment because they want to get chicks. They think it's a great way to get
Right.
women. So if you're a grown-up adult, and why are you making kids programs?
Yeah. I mean, that's the same with Paul Rubens, right? It's clearly
Yeah.
troubled guy.
100%, and he just like gives it away. And like it's so crazy how if you watch that thing, we've talked about it, Johnny. The first episode is kind of fluffy and
Yeah,
like
I almost couldn't get through it. I was like, oh, this is boring. Who cares?
yeah,
about
and
this?
then the second one is dark
Whoa.
because he won't participate in it. So the director gets to do the doc he wanted to do without Paul Rubin, stopping him left and right. And it's a way different vibe. And, it's just like, dude, when you tell me that you purposefully put in homoerotic stuff into your kid's show, that says to me anything's on the table.
Oh, so with kids show, do you think it should just all be animated?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No. I'm just asking because it's like when you have who's that? Dan Schneider, all that your adults are around kids. Who's recording?
Oh, I
Adults.
get what you're saying.
You saying if
No,
it was just
I
all
mean-
animated, you would avoid a lot of that if it's just all animated.
Yeah.
But you still have to have voice talent, though. And I mean, most of them are women that pretend to be little boys. But I don't.
I just don't
But even
trust
then,
it.
like The Rescuers, that Disney film from back in the day, dude, you see that we just talked about it on Already Dead on Tuesday. There's when we showed the clip, you can pause it, and it's so quick. It's subliminal messaging for children. You see tits in a window, and as the mice are like coming down this I forget they're like
It's
coming
Fight
down
Club.
a
Getting that
staircase.
dick
Yeah, the
in.
dick in,
That's
yeah.
Fight Club.
It's
If I'd have known that when I was a
we
kid about
referenced.
Disney, I would have been looking at channel 99 and 69 through the white noise all the time. I would have been going to Disney to find the
Well,
tits.
I mean,
No, I'm with you, dude.
well, what do you guys think about the whole Roblox with Chris Hansen
No,
and all that shit's
100%.
getting
That's crazy, dude.
I
That's
don't know anything
wild.
about that. What is
But he goes back to what they were saying earlier about like sending intelligence agencies in the stuff.
What is it? Roblox and Chris Hansen?
yeah.
Roblox is having a pedophile problem.
What? And Chris Hansen is busting people on Roblox?
Yeah,
Is
well,
that
there's a lot of guys busting, and they're getting kicked off of Roblox.
No, so there's this
what- the
kid.
pedo busters
Yeah.
are getting kicked
So,
off.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
there's this kid that's a vigilante technically, and he has like.
He's a kid?
No, well, he's like 19, 20, and I guess he on Roblox got into some like pedo stuff with his mom, whatever. So he becoming a vigilante, and he started getting these predators. And Roblox literally did an assist and a sue or whatever, where they literally came at him and sued him for using their platform and doxing it because obviously it's showing that there's a problem on Roblox and they don't like it, so they sued the kid.
Oh, cease and desist. I got
And
you.
Well,
everybody-
so what the problem is that Roblox need to have certain amount of users on there to get funding from to have people keep investing in the game. So
yeah.
literally, if you get rid of all the pedos,
Yeah, dude.
it all goes away.
They got the numbers behind the scene. They know, like, hey, 10% of our audience is pedophiles.
So-
we got to keep those.
so
Yeah.
my
It's
daughter,
dating apps, dude. Dating apps, they found that they're all,
Terrible.
it's all bots and dudes on there. And they don't kick off the bots because they need the women, the fake women. To,
well, that was the thing
to
with
keep the
Ashley
app alive.
Madison, right?
Yeah, and it's the
Ashley
same with
Madison,
the
a
others,
woman
so.
would go there, set up a profile, get freaked out, get off it, but they would zombify it. And there's this thing that even Twitter does it all the time. I guarantee you, there
Bots.
are
AI bots.
a dead Twitter accounts that are just sitting there and they wait a certain amount of time. If you haven't used it, they zombify it, right? They zombify it and then they use it to troll people.
Or they just make fake ones.
Or
Totally.
they make fake ones, yeah. But my daughter likes playing Roblox, and we're on her left, and we're like, "What's that? What's that? What's that?"
Yeah.
And she and Dana goes, do you talk to anybody on the game? She goes, "I have a friend on there," and we go, "What?" They go, "I have a friend in there." I go, "What does that mean? Show me." She goes, "Oh, this character follows me all around everywhere." I go, "Hey, can you communicate with him?" She goes, "Yeah." I threw this sign. I go, "Give me it," and I wrote, "I'm the character's father in real life. If you continue following my daughter, I'll find you and fucking kill you."
Yeah.
And he ran off.
It's such a vulnerable. So it's a place where they can go
That's a
and
good
like predators can go find the most amount of vulnerable children without supervision
Yeah.
in these places like Roblox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that Roblox is letting it happen, it's going to be a giant lawsuit, and we should sue them into the effing ground. Just sue them the shit out of them.
This is the problem though. Like if people haven't already realized at this point that we are surrounded by this strange culture of elite pedophiles that are entirely protected and completely insulated from any real accountability, as long as they belong to the overarching network, because that's what it is. This very well established pedophile underworld.
You mean financiers, Austin?
Yeah, the individual pedophiles on the ground, like the peasant pedophile, let's say, they'll occasionally catch a charge, right?
Yeah.
But even then, it's difficult to charge just child sex crimes in general, which is fascinating. How many
Those are the
measures are in
scapegoats.
place.
So they capture those, and
Yeah,
then they go,
and they
FBI caught these
Yeah.
pedos, so it looks like they're doing something.
And it pacifies everybody.
Yeah.
100%.
Exactly.
And they're all these autistic guys that look like they don't know how to talk to anybody in society. And they're probably, I'm not justifying, I'm not saying it's okay. Throw them the fuck away. But I guarantee you they're lonely. They don't know how to talk to anybody. And they finally got somebody talking to them. And they just do the unthinkable. And then they get thrown in jail. And it really doesn't change anything.
And they've learned about sex through their entire lives because they've been closed off watching guys walk up to doors with a hole in the bottom of a pizza box.
Yep.
It's sausage and that's how they interact with nothing but just creepiness.
Yep. And it's freaking gross. And they're trying to normalize it. They really are trying to normalize it. That guy, Scott Wiener, who is a politician in California, decriminalize anal with a minor. because he
What?
says it is homophobic. Yeah.
My
the
God,
fuck?
that's some NAMBLA sort of tactic,
Truly.
right? Where
And they
I
just keep
remember,
voting him in. Who's running against you?
Right.
That they can't beat the guy who goes, dog,
like-
everybody, he legalized anal against minors. He made it
Right.
legal. Why?
That's all you need to say to win.
That
I
would
think.
that would literally be the debate. Okay, we got Scott Wiener versus Sam Tripoli in debate. Miss Tripoli opening statements. This guy made it legal to do anal with minors. Throw down the mic, walk the fuck out.
Even the Reuters has like a debunk where they say this claim is false. The bill is intended to reform the state's sex offender registry to be fairer to young LGBT adults. Like it's literally what you said.
Young
They're just saying,
LGBT
"Whoa."
adults. What's a young LGBT? What's
Exactly.
a young
Well,
they're
adult?
saying
What's a
that-
young adult?
What they're
Right.
saying is like a 22-year-old guy hooks up with like a 16-year-old boy. They're gonna do anal, and because that's his sexuality, he shouldn't be punished for that. And you're like, no.
Yeah, of course
Yeah,
you
yeah.
should.
No, it's like like you said, it's normalizing that type of stuff among young people. It's like the old school when it was like somebody being charged with statutory rape. They were 17, their girlfriend was 16. But now it's just like we don't want the people who are anally probing children to be wrongly charged.
Yeah, it's crazy.
so they legitimately utilize children in the context of the pedophile operation as procurers for the adult pedophiles and then they usually force them to take part in the abuse sessions as well. But they kind of will have like key priority victims that they'll have run roughshod over the other victims and sort of help condition them after being abducted and to where they will be more compliant in this sort of situation. And also, I remember Paul Benassi claiming after they abducted, he and Lawrence E. King abducted a child, and I believe it was in Colorado, and then essentially, or it could have been Vegas, either one, and then flew to San Francisco, got a director with an advanced professional camera, and they were going to then record obviously child pornography, which then was escalated into
Director?
escalated into a snuff film, which apparently on the flight, the child was obviously freaking out and entirely kind of distraught. And Paul Benassi was the victim who was running roughshod over the other victims and helping with the procurement operation. And he claims he was a part of the Johnny Gosch abduction as well, providing the chloroform, right, like luring him toward the. So you had a grown man walk out of a bush, right, and have a conversation with Johnny, and then Paul Benassi sort of lures him over to close to a van, and then three men jump out and chloroform him and put him in the van. That's basically what happened. And but still, when what did he say whenever he was on that private plane with Lawrence E. King and he was conditioning the victim? He was asking him, "Have you ever had a sexual experience?" This is a child under the age of 10 years old, right? Like, and of course, like just
So how does
imagining.
Benacci get to walk around? Like I've had him on my
Crazy,
show.
right?
I didn't know any of this.
Dude, it's crazy. Paul Benassi was even the one who claimed that he was there at the foundation of NAMBLA, which I thought was insane, in Boston, Massachusetts, with the Catholic clergy. And if you believe what Kathy O'Brien claims, obviously, right, they're very much pivotal in the context of providing children and utilizing these sort of child care organizations and underneath the umbrella of the Catholic Church to procure sort of children who have no real protectors in place or guardians. And then, it's another way to sort of access untraceable children who have no real, individuals following up on their well-being. And of course,
That was
Paul
Jared from
Benassi.
Subway. She doesn't have any parents.
Yeah.
It's
exactly
so dark.
how
I can't
what-
even look in.
yeah.
It's so upsetting to me. I just want to go and just vigilante everything.
Dude, that's what they target the vulnerable. One of the things Epstein funded, this guy Lawrence Crofts through Arizona State University, he funded this program. He created the Origin Project, and he put this guy he controlled, or whoever controlled Epstein, as the head of it. And it was a celebrity scientist symposium, and it led the culture. It ushered in the culture of trust the scientists. It was an aggressively anti-religion, anti-family organization designed to separate children from their parents and from God, and to have them glorify the scientists to trust so that they could capture them
Yeah.
through these celebrity scientists.
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah.
I know with it like the NAMBLA connection, the reason that it reminded me of like the tactics of NAMBLA, right? Just the North American Man Boy Love Association normalizing pedophilia. Like, by the way, the reason I mentioned on whatever this is on Monday, just the sort of Nick Fuentes and Destiny connection there, because they legitimately, Destiny was sitting next to Nick Fuentes, and he says that essentially they asked him why he was like hanging out with children, right? And he said, because, or like 10-year-olds, I think. Let me find it real quick because it's crazy. And he said 10-year-olds are hot. And Nick Fuentes just reacts. He starts laughing his ass off and says how based it is. Yeah, here it is. Destiny says, children are hotter than adults. And Nick Fuentes says, based. Let's fucking go. That's why we love Destiny. That's why we love this guy. And
Yeah,
I was just like,
I'm out on Nick Fuentes. I'm
disgusted,
fucking out
brother.
on him.
Right? Like
He
that
just says the
just
worst
disgusted
shit.
me personally, seeing something like that. But again, it to me, the way that I look at like the warring factions of the alternative media personalities, it seems like they all receive this upward mobility with their sort of like it almost feels like kayfabe, right? They're at odds now, and now everyone's prioritizing this as some sort of we need to cover the fact that Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes are not getting
Yeah.
Oh,
along.
you found it, Johnny?
That's why we love him. That's why we love this guy.
I don't know who Destiny is. I don't get why he has a following.
Sorry, Brad.
Oh, you're
He
good.
found the clip.
Did you want me to
I'm just
show
gonna
that
play it. I
video?
got-
Yeah,
I
can you find it?
Oh yeah, I have it on. I have it right here. I can.
Yeah, if you want to share it, yes, share it. I was going to play it.
Okay.
Sorry,
But
Brad. I
can just
didn't
do
mean
the
to
audio.
cut
you
Yeah,
off.
can you bring it up? If you can
Yeah,
share
I'll
it there,
share
that'll be
right
better.
now. Hold on.
And not trying to defend Nick at all, but is this
If you don't
super
have it
old?
at hand,
'Cause
I can send it to you in the chat. by the
is
way.
this
I have it
super
right
old? Because according to him, he's changed. He's not as crazy as he is. That's why Candace and them have him on and shit.
It could be a while ago. It does look.
He does look young. He looks super young right there, actually.
Did I share that right? I don't
Yeah,
even know what I'm
but
doing.
he,
If you
he's
hit-
also though hung out with that Sammy Davis Jr. Big Chin guy that got busted with doing some stuff. I mean, you're right. People do grow, but
You just got to make sure you hit share sound when you shared it. You might have to go back and.
Oh,
hit
for
share.
real?
Yeah, share sound
shit.
before you hit share.
Okay, my bad.
now have you heard that
Let me-
Sneeko's really Jewish?
Who?
Sneeko?
I don't know. That.
That
Oh,
young
shit, sorry.
some influencer motherfucker. He's just like a troll. Like, I'm surprised you've seen him. If you've seen his face, you'll know exactly who it is.
Dude, I'm
I'm gonna
out on a lot
reshare
of
this
that
real
stuff.
quick.
He produced Kanye's Cuck album.
Oh yes, okay. I saw him all with Kanye in an interview. Yeah.
Okay, there. I think I did it right this time.
All right, here it is.
Yeah, this is crazy to me.
Hang out with children.
Well, they're hotter. Based. Let's fucking go. That's why we love him. That's why we love this guy.
Hang out with children.
I just,
Well, they're hotter.
I mean, like, how much can you play into that?
At
You know,
what
it's like,
point do we-
is that really a joke? I don't
No,
know.
but
man.
at what point do we go, Destiny, you're fucking gone?
That
Like,
guy's a
at
weirdo.
what point?
Who is he?
He's a weirdo. dude.
Nobody goes to the IDF in Israel, tell him, hey, dude, stop filming yourself. Stop filming your war crimes. Like,
I mean,
at some
he's
point, it's no
accused-
longer a joke.
Right. And Destiny's accused of like what, sharing porn with an underage girl, right? 17-year-old, but still it's like she's an underage girl you're sexting and sharing porn with. That's an issue.
Why do people
Right, and-
like him? How did he get a following?
He's a streamer.
Dude.
I'm reading it right here. It says he quit his job as a carpet cleaner to stream video games full time. He was streaming StarCraft 2 matches on livestream.com and all the streaming websites. And I think he just got big doing that.
Yeah, but it's also
he went to
like,
a Jesuit
why
academy. so-
him? Well, yeah, there we go. There we go. Jesuit Academy.
Of course.
It's like, what is the name of the fucking black female comic? What is her fucking name? She's like talks really hood. She's
Queen Latifah?
Wanda?
no, Wanda Sykes.
Oh yeah.
Straight up, NSA openly admits
Yeah.
it. Been to
That's crazy.
been to Jeffrey Epstein's island.
Of all the people too, like I would
Well,
never
no,
guess.
no, it totally makes sense.
No, but I mean, just her whole hood thing. You wouldn't think the government's going out looking for hood people, but I guess they are.
Why?
to
That's
get-
what they love to push is hood, degenerate, can't speak good
You just
English.
think of a
This comes
G-man,
from a
you know
guy
what I'm
that
saying?
can't speak good English, by the way.
Think
So,
of the average G man. You don't think of Wanda Sykes. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Tupac, like Tupac.
but you go, okay, this is what they do, dude. Everything is data. They're studying everybody,
Yep.
anybody in the NSA, CIA. Hey,
100%.
man, if you're cool and you're funny and you're quick, okay, let's push him into the entertainment world. Let's blow him up. Destiny's a Jesuit. He's like kind of quick. He's got opinions. Push him out. I mean, we're just starting to find that every one of
Yeah.
these people that are huge, that really, even like, you know, it's like even some of the guys who got canceled, though. Like, but they're canceled now. They're back. It's
They're
like,
back, yeah.
what is the connection to? You know, like people are talking about Nick Fuentes and his connections to Roger Stone. You know,
Right, and he's a weird guy too. And Roger Stone had Get Me Roger Stone, the Netflix show. If you've seen that,
Very
where he's just very
interesting,
open about his political dirty tricks. Everything is a PR stunt right now. Like that is how you get to where you are. Like you are conducting PR stunt operations. This competing, and society's like an experimental testing lab, and it's never been easier, like you talked about data, Sam, to collect that data to then test and exploit that data immediately in modern society.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, I think that honestly, just the fact that like Roger Stone, Roy Cohn, that they're very similar in certain ways, and I think it's important.
Both
Yeah,
gay.
right. And what Nancy Reagan was specifically trying to seek like advanced medical treatment on behalf of
Slut.
Roy Cohn, who's dying of AIDS allegedly,
Right.
which is just
but
too
what's
funny
so
because
interesting about that is because you guys have thrown those on a thing, but I hope you guys are still there. Is that even if you kind of watched the chick who was the head of YouTube, like she dies of turbo cancer, right? Like, did she take it? Did she take it? And then they just, hey, yeah, we got to keep the narrative going, and whoever gets sacrificed. So Ray Cohen, nobody ever came in and goes, hey, dude, get off the
Cohn.
AZT, dude. Ray Cohn, get off the
Roy
AZT.
Cohn.
Roy Cohn. Thank you. Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn. Get off the AZT, dude. Get off it.
Who's Ray?
Raise my brother. You know,
Dude,
but they're like, get
Roy
off
Cohn.
the AZT, dude. Like Magic Johnson, dude. He got off it. That's why he's a fat billionaire right now.
You think he ever got it?
Who?
AZT? He actually took it?
I know. I think somebody pulled him aside way early and like, get off that thing. That's what's killing everybody.
I mean, that guy could have died from a million things. He was
And
into
his-
some
yeah.
crazy shit.
Who?
How about his
Roy
kid
Cohn.
too? He's like the same height. He's the only one who could have played basketball.
Syphilis.
No, what about his like trans kid that's just like a Nephilim trans?
Mm-hmm.
right.
It's like
Roy
unbelievable.
Cohn has a giant trans kid?
No, Magic
No.
Johnson.
Oh,
does.
okay. I was about to say, like, what the fuck?
I mean, the biggest gay you've ever seen in your life.
That's hilarious.
You think he could have played ball if he would have wanted to?
I mean, he's super tall.
Yeah,
dude.
he-
Huge.
He's super
He could
tall.
dominate the WNBA.
But I was talking about those
Yeah, I mean, so could
Minnesota
Sam.
cheerleaders, dude. Those male
Oh,
cheerleaders.
yeah.
They must be getting all the download dick, dude. I mean,
They got one. The Patriots has one now too. Just as fruity as the.
yeah, I mean, dude, they must be getting all the DL dick, dude. All those download
dude.
brothers who are tired of banging chicks
yeah.
are like, dude, because those guys are so shiny. They're so shiny.
pretending
dude.
to be watching the
Yeah.
girls, you know.
Oh, dude,
All
look at
the
these-
NFL Dwight Howards they're getting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is why he's not in the NBA anymore.
Is every
Yeah.
team going to have one by the end of the next season?
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. But the NBA is going to fuck around and fight. I personally don't care. I know people get angry at that. Cheerleaders are gay. It's stupid. We don't need
They
it
should
there.
get rid of cheerleaders. Yeah, that's
I mean,
the
we
thing.
don't. It was hot when we didn't have Instagram and tits in our face all the time. Now it's like, oh, man, we got to remember to play defense. We got to.
Dude, I can see
Thank
more.
you, hot chick, who's like the team's down 40 points and they're in the camera all excited. It's like,
No, but and if you really want to, just find out who that cheerleader is. You can see more on her OnlyFans than you ever will.
Well, you
on
can see more
Absolutely.
in the row in front of you. All the chicks go out in public now with their ass.
that's
hanging
why
out.
strip bars are dying. Why am I going to a strip bar where I got to throw women money to fake like they like me when I can go to a nightclub and have women fake that they like me, but I got a chance to at least bring them home?
Yeah.
You can go on PlayStation and play simulators and have women fake. They like in college football 2025, they had male cheerleaders for some of the teams, which
So
is a
funny.
weird.
Well, there's
feature
always
to
been
include.
had
male
them in college,
cheerleaders.
yeah.
There's
In
always
college,
been the
they've
guy
always
that
had 'em.
lifts them, but we've
Not
never
them,
had
it
the
was the
one
gay
with
ones they had.
the pom poms looking shiny, dude.
Yeah.
I mean shiny.
Great dancer.
Great.
And they have the OnlyFans simulator too. They're bringing out on PlayStation. I think I told you guys about that. If you want to
Wait,
read something
that's
really
real?
funny, go read the description of that, where it's like rags to riches. Do you have what it takes to make it? Respond to high profile clients, and we're just like, you're going to be getting these AI dirty messages that your character is going to be replying to. It's crazy.
How long to trans cheerleader?
I mean, they're really close. I mean, this
Sooner the
is
better.
close, dude. The
Yeah,
one,
the technology. We have the technology.
I mean, it's gonna be there.
You toss dildos at them too. It's going to be fun. Maybe some
yeah.
Oh my
flashlights.
God. So I heard that was for the what was it, the green dildo token? It was actually for promoting a new digital currency, a
Oh, is there?
cryptocurrency.
Oh, wow,
Great,
I wish
dude.
I'd known about
well
that.
played.
Yeah.
I know,
I'm
right?
trying
I
to
was
make
like,
a
holy
mobile
shit.
app game of it, and I can't. Every platform I use tells me I can't do it. So literally, there's an OS called OF instead of OnlyFans simulator on PlayStation. Every single platform I've tried to make the dildo tossing game for the WNBA, it won't let me do it because it's inappropriate.
In America,
That's so
guys. In
funny.
America. Guys, great episode. I know we can go 15 more hours if you wanted to. But
Dude.
again, if you want to check out our premium content, it's called Whatever This Is. It's available on each of our premium content. These guys are the best in the business. They have some of the best research out there. Real quick, one more time, Austin, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, man. You guys definitely check out the Underclass podcast. I just did an episode on the James Holmes cinema shooting, obviously with Radix Verum, who she's great. She's such
She
a
is
great
great.
resource, and I had covered it.
We
I
need to
think
get her
it's
back
been
on.
about 2 years since then. I think that, or at least 2 years since I covered it personally on my own podcast. But again, it's like there are so many details, right? And I had mentioned the mind rapist and the therapist and everything else. I mean, it's absolutely incredible the things that he claimed to have happened, obviously, and effectively. The only thing I wanted to mention before I give my plugs is basically he had essentially claimed that he had to go through with his mission or he would be suicided. And that was a part of his journal, right? Which he was
Who is this?
obviously, this is James Holmes. And I wanted
Oh.
to show you the revelation of the method of the 1986. I pulled the 2 pictures of a comic book from 1986, and I just wanted you guys to see it because it looks like it's directly a window into revelation of the method. And this was some
Okay,
sort of
show
like,
us. This is
Like,
like when
okay.
a black comedian introduces you. His intro has like 15 jokes in it that he didn't get out to buy. No, I love you. I'm just.
What
I
I
mean, it's
do.
hilarious.
Is that a thing?
Anyways, but you can find me here. But one more thing, real quick. But
I
wanna
can't
see-
help it, dude. I
No, it's
can't help
great.
it.
You're a machine, dude. You're a machine. Here,
I'm sorry, man.
can you show?
But okay, I'm gonna share this, but I have to say this part only because it's fascinating, and it is to fulfill his programming, or the kill switch will be triggered. That's how it came off to me. And so he essentially says, "Why?" This is a part of his journal. He says, basically, can't tell the mind rapist's plan. If plan is disclosed, both normal life and ideal enactment on hatred failed. Then Holmes says, if I told them, then I would be locked up and could not carry out the mission. I had to complete it in order to not suicide. Now, he also claimed that he was being followed by federal agents, right? The FBI, and that at the time of the massacre, and that he had hoped, this is the reason why he paused just before re-entering the cinema, he had hoped that they would apprehend him at the theater before he could carry out his mission. And he had even claimed that he had witnessed vans, right, essentially that were surveilling him.
Yeah.
And he himself had witnessed federal agents who were working on behalf of the FBI, who were effectively a part of that surveillance operation, which does make sense. But when he goes into obviously being mind fucked and the culture rapists, it's very interesting. And I think it's important, especially because Adam Lanza refers to his therapist as the rapist as well, the mind rapist, mind fucking. It's crazy. And again, it just points to, in my mind, you had a legitimate example of DID playing out And I intended to actually start the episode by referencing this because you had mentioned the of course Project Soul Catcher, Dr. Robert Duncan. I found that to be extremely important as far as like the concept of a modern Manchurian and what he claims. Harvard graduate, investigator, and author of that book, Project Soul Catcher. It's interesting. Secrets of Cyber and Cybernetics Revealed. And basically, in 2012 is when he reveals that he had been interviewing over 650 people who claimed to have been in under government mind control and in a program that they referred to as Manchurian Candidate ID Program Free. And so then he subsequently goes to the Senate Intelligence Committee and meets with 26 senators, as well as the head of the Los Angeles FBI, and then works on with a consortium of scientists on a research project for over 8 years, providing a closest estimate he could reach, being that there are around 10,000 Manchurian candidates in the works being programmed by the CIA right now that can be used at any time around the world. But he also concluded by explaining that only a small percentage actually become successful Manchurians, allowing the CIA to subvert certain international laws forbidding the agency to engage in the assassination of foreign leaders through the strategy of indirection or utilizing agency handlers to indoctrinate individuals into these Manchurian candidate programs in order to self-righteously assert plausible deniability after the fact. Dr. Robert Duncan claims that among these alleged mass shooters, James Holmes falls into this Manchurian candidate category as well. And this is when he claims that the ultimate priority is to predominantly manufacture consent for landmark gun legislation, largely encouraging Americans to disarm themselves through a combination of drugs, manipulative psychological techniques, and advanced cybernetics. Clearly, he believes that, honestly, what he claimed was many of the CIA's, at least intended achievements in human behavioral modification research was effectively achieved through this, and that the modern day technology doesn't even require brain implants, but he does claim they work very well. And then he says that they actually rely much more heavily on post-hypnotic suggestion, and that one of their goals obviously being split personality spies so they could pass information without knowing it, pass polygraph tests, use the voice of God technology, even while they're sleeping to obviously program their subjects with subliminals and keep them in dissociative states as they're asleep. And that's fascinating as well. And so I feel like it's most important. This is what he claims, is that often these targets are manipulated through the use of microwave hearing effects or voice transformation, such as that voice of a dead relative, to implant ideas in the subject's mind, which they've already sort of like sophisticated methods of, like, you can actually have an audiobook read by your dead grandmother, that type of
that's crazy.
It is nuts. And so then he ends with the claim that neuroscience has become the modern battleground where war wages on over the control of the human mind, cybernetic warfare. And he says the 21st century will be known as the age of spiritual machines and soulless men. And I thought that was like profound, honestly. And then I personally described it as what we're witnessing is obviously the careful and systematic assault being waged on the human psyche, right? And that this was a sort of perfect window into, right, just the complete and total destruction of free will at a certain level, right? And I think that that's ultimately what people need to honestly come to terms with, is that the level of sophisticated techniques that exist and have been pursued for so long at this point, that it's hard to even conceptualize what they're able to accomplish and achieve, right? And again, it's like, imagine if you could pull up and through radio, essentially electromagnetic frequencies, you could subliminally program a priority target to then effectively go in and act out their set of instructions in the subconscious mind as they're fracturing into two. I always think of that individual who like broke into that Colorado amusement park at night and then just went into the women's restroom and wrote on the mirror basically that he had to suicide himself so he could reject his programming basically. And to me, that fits very perfectly with how many of these individuals waking up like a Tamerlan Tsarnaev of the Boston Marathon bombing, not knowing how he got to certain places, fracturing his mindset. He said his mind was fracturing in two. He couldn't account for all these losses in time. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, obviously, but
Do
and
you
then I
have
wanted,
do you have the comic book?
yeah, I'm sending it right now. It's actually I had
Can
taken
you
the
share it from
pictures.
your computer?
Do I?
Can you share it from your computer?
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
share it.
do that.
Okay, and this is crazy because it's I just took the screen caps and then I sent it to my email because there are two specific pictures that that I think are very important to actually look at. And again, it's fascinating to actually see. Did I share that properly?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
wow.
So first of all, hold on. Let me actually pull this because basically you have right here. It says this is what I had sent myself. So specific comic references for James Holmes. Media speculation linked Holmes' actions to specific Batman comics, notably Frank Miller's 1986 The Dark Knight Returns. In this comic, a character named Arnold Krimp commits a mass shooting in a theater after losing his job, drawing these disturbing parallels to Holmes' actions.
Oh my
Now,
God.
additionally, Holmes' use of smoke bombs during the shooting also mirrored tactics displayed in the comic. Now, this is just a picture. Pull up. I wish I would have cropped it with a picture of James with the orange hair because he dyed his orange hair. Obviously,
Yeah. And
You look
everybody
at
thought that
now,
was
this-
the Joker.
exactly.
So you
but
think he
that-
read that comic?
No, I don't necessarily think that he did. It's definitely possible that he did. I'm trying to make this go away. Hold on. It's fascinating when you try and read through this a little bit because the scene itself is nuts. It says Arnold Krimp fingers the cold steel. Dude, it's such an interesting sort of comic that hold on, let me get this to actually.
Oh, he's at a
disappear.
porno theater?
Yeah, he's at a porno theater. That's where he commits this mass shooting. It's super crazy. And so essentially,
And it's
if I can
what,
get this-
Satan?
oh, wait.
There used to be a
There we
porno
go.
theater
Yeah.
near my house in when I lived on Melrose, just on Salamanca, and they'd have the
Studs, yeah.
name of the Studs. They would have the name of the pornos that were playing, and one was Devil Was a Bottom. Devil is a Bottom.
How much was
Wow.
how much was the video? I don't know.
No, it was one of those. Okay, I don't know. We don't know. We've done. What did we do? Bathhouse reviews. That's on
Yeah,
another
we used
show.
to do that. Yeah. Well, whenever my mom first came to visit me here, we were driving down the sidewalk or walking down the sidewalk, and she was like, "Oh, that's a lovely theater there. Have you been in?" And I'm like, "No, mom, have not been in."
I
that theater.
can't tell you about mom. Anyways, go on. Finish this. Go on.
That's between me
Yeah,
and
so
Richie.
basically, it's just honestly, I'm gonna pull it up on my phone because it's too difficult to read on the screen here because it keeps getting cut off, and I think it's just too important. And I took a picture also of like the Minneapolis mass shooters. He had drawn a picture of like it looks like a Baphomet almost is rising out of basically this sort of crypt. It's very strange, but he himself is like opening the crypt door and allowing him to come forward and rise out of the. This is very interesting. He has a AR on his back, but anyway, so this specifically says that Arnold Krimp fingers the cold steel, thinks in his pocket and stares at the movie marquee and does not throw up. He thinks about Led Zeppelin and how they are trying to kill him. He had not known about Led Zeppelin until Father Don on TV had explained it last night. Father Don said that that Led Zeppelin hid a prayer to Satan in their song "Stairway to Heaven." They hit it hold on, shit. They hit it very well. They recorded it backwards. And then he goes on to say that basically Arnold Krimp took the album from the record store where he worked until they fired him that afternoon and transferred Stairway to Heaven to tape. Then he played the tape backwards. He played it 47 times until he was absolutely certain that Father Don was right. But the young girl who was painted like a whore didn't believe him. That was this afternoon in the store. He explained it to her very carefully. She said awful words. He lost his temper and broke the record into 4 pieces that were exactly the same size. The young girl, who was painted just like a whore, screamed for the manager, and the manager walked out from the back room and wouldn't even listen and fired Arnold Krimp. That was this afternoon in the store. Every morning and evening until tonight, of course, he had walked 6 blocks out of his way to avoid this neighborhood. It's worse than he imagined, and he's holding his gun. Now, there's a spiral symbol that's behind him while he's standing in the midst of individuals in a theater as well that really reminds me of the pedophile coded language, right? The
Yep.
coded symbols that they
Yep.
use. And then he says row on row on row on row of pictures of women and words and words and words. He stopped at this one, the one he is in right now, and read the title that did not make him throw up. The title is My Sweet Satan, which is what Arnold Kremp is absolutely certain he heard when he played Stairway to Heaven backwards. Then he seems to go into this instant rage. On the screen, he says, a nun is doing something, and she's painted exactly like a whore. And then it's a picture of a newsman providing a newscast with the bat signal behind him, and it says, 3 slain in Batman-inspired porn theater shootout, details to follow. But that alone, the imagery, right? The likeness to me in terms of the actual character. And if you look at the sort of strange faces in the background behind the individual perpetrator, right? It's interesting.
They look like
And
mannequins almost.
It does. But again, it's like, what did James Holmes claim? He wanted to sort of distance himself from the actual consequences of the deaths taking place. He didn't want to hear the screams or make eye contact whatsoever. He was actually concerned he would have unintentionally harmed a child, which I
That's why
found
he
very
wore the
interesting.
mask. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm still under the impression that he was programmed to Patsy, standing in a hypnotic trance, waiting to be apprehended by the authorities with a strange stretcher underneath his vehicle. It's very strange. And what did the individual the individual police officer who conducted the arrest, right? His name was Officer Justin Grizzle.
Shit. Oh, I thought it was gonna be Israel again.
Right? No, he straight up says that James Holmes just looked at me and smiled, right? And he looked as if his eyes were extraordinarily dilated, is what he claims, right? He didn't seem like he seemed like he was in a trance, which is just so crazy.
I mean, that's the same thing with the Paradise shooting, dude. That same thing with Mark Chapman. The same thing with all these guys. They don't run. They're frozen. They don't know what the fuck just happened. And this is how you manufacture fear in people. I mean, all these serial killers, I think some of you guys came on and talked about, they all have military ties. I mean, it's absolutely insanity, dude. It's all astroturfed fear, dude.
Totally.
Exactly.
Right? It's all astroturf fear. The craziest part of that comic book is how packed that porno theater is.
It's a lot of
Look
people.
how many
There.
people there watching pornos.
You need a lot of rags.
A lot of people.
The good old days.
It's always used fear as a tool to manufacture consent for dystopian legislative action, typically. And usually it is landmark gun legislation, right? Which is effectively
That's
being
what they're
pursued
doing
even
all
at
right
this
now.
moment.
That's all they're doing right now. Is just like, oh, dude, we people want gun laws. And it's so lucky that's on MSNBC and nobody watches that dog shit anymore. So they're like screaming.
MS Now.
Abyss. Yeah, MS Now. Miss Now. Is that the name of the Minnesota Vikings cheerleaders?
Yeah, right.
Miss Now. I got all the DL dick all over the place. Guys, one more time, Austin. Where can they find you? Austin does some telethons.
I'm so sorry. I love you guys, man. I honestly do. And,
No, it's
and
great.
I got nothing
It's
but
great. It's great.
I got nothing but love and respect for you all. You know that. And I'm forever grateful for these opportunities, man. Like it's surreal for me because I've been a major a fan of both Sam and Brad for a long time. So years I've consumed your content, and I've just and for some reason I felt as if we could just have a conversation, we would kind of hit it off, and it would just be a natural, organic kind of relationship that would form. And luckily I was correct on that, honestly. And I think it's mainly has to do with the beautiful intentions. Right. I think that's what matters most. The law of abundance that you practice as well, Sam. All right, I'll shut up, guys. I'm sorry. I'll give my plugs, but I swear, I'm very grateful.
You're just a kind soul, buddy.
You are, dude.
And
I love you guys.
You are a computer. You are a supercomputer.
You outro like you're giving your final address as leader of the resistance.
This, right? You have a timeline, right? You have a timeline on this timeline, and here's A to Z, right? But each millimeter of that timeline is a little dot, and you press that dot, and it's just a fucking web of more
iceberg.
And each one, a web of more information comes, and then on each little piece of information, you click on that, another web comes out, and it's just an infinite spider web of just information. That's how you work, dude. Hey, dude, I talk to myself all day. You go deep dive. We all have something. Brad, one more time, tell them where they can find
And you're filled with passion too, Austin, which is infectious. So I definitely appreciate that. That comic you showed made me think of the Trump villain thing from that 1950s show where there's a Trump character who's a con man who comes to the town, it's a Western, and convinces everybody they need to build a wall because otherwise the world's going to end if they don't build a wall.
So crazy.
And it's like, who is it? It's Trump. It's like, and there's a guy named Trump going, you better build the wall or you're going to die. It's
His
crazy.
name is Trump in it?
Yeah. Have you not seen that?
Holy shit.
All right,
you
dude.
haven't heard this? This
I'm
is
gonna,
crazy, dude.
yeah, I'll show it to you. I got a clip of it. You want to see it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if you
Oh
haven't
my,
seen it,
the
it's gonna blow his
never-ending
mind.
show.
pull this
I can't
up.
believe you haven't seen this. This
No,
is
I've never
crazy.
seen it. Play it. This is crazy.
This reminds me of Broken Sim.
This was like
All right.
the first time around Trump.
Can you guys see that?
Yes.
we got it.
Oh, let's read it real quick. In a 1958 episode from a Western television series, Trackdown, a con man named Trump, oh my God, comes to town and warns the people that the world will be destroyed. And the only way he can save them is by building a wall.
Damn.
That's amazing.
This is
dude.
hilarious. Dude.
That's the craziest shit ever. Okay, play it.
Did you hit share sound on that?
I hit
It's a
share.
stupid little box you have to check when you share it that I
Yeah.
didn't realize either, Brad.
I'm just gonna be with some Western music.
Where's the bot here? I'll share it again. See if I see
Yeah,
the
it's
bot.
just
Yeah,
on
that's
the
what I
right
had to do.
side. It says share sound, a little tick you have
That's
to.
like the other one. What's the book?
I see it. I see it.
What's the book that Trump's mentioning too, where he's gonna
Yeah,
be?
Yeah.
the last
That's crazy.
president,
Barron
and
one.
then
Barron,
Baron
yeah.
Trump.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here you
Time
go.
traveler.
Can you guys hear that?
No,
No.
but maybe there's nothing. We don't know.
No,
Track down.
Have you shared stuff before? Because if you haven't, you have to like set up the permissions with your computer sometimes. Let me-
Oh man.
Here, I'll send. How about I send you the link in the chat?
yeah. Hey, actually, can you?
Yeah.
If he sends it to you, can you pull it up?
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah. Yeah, this
Oh,
is
man.
great. You guys are gonna love this.
Crazy times, dude.
All right, it's in the chat.
Yeah, this was. I remember this. This was one of those things going around back during the wall days. That was just
Mm-hmm.
mind blowing.
Revelation of the method is real.
Oh my
Old
God.
school too.
Joe Rogan wore the sweatshirt that I gave him.
Nice.
He wore it on
Awesome.
They
stage.
must love you, bro. You get that blue belt so fast.
Give it to me now. I'm just so busy. I can't make as much as I want to.
The 7 C's is gonna be pissed, dude. Yeah, I love 7 C's.
Yeah, we all do.
It's cool.
Oh, is that the guy that says everybody's
Yeah, we
on
love
the
him.
payroll?
I gotta get him back on. He's if I don't get him on soon, I'm gonna be compromised.
Yeah. We just gotta have him on just so he doesn't say we're compromised.
Dude.
That's
If
crazy.
that happened
is-
today, you would think that was AI. You'd be like, oh, they made that up.
Yeah. 1957.
Well, it's also that like, oh, everyone's getting dumber. Look at what people loved back then. It was like garbage, you know?
Yeah,
so,
well, I mean, remember, there's the video that the first film, you know, of the train coming toward it. Like everybody was like freaking out in the theater because they thought they were about to be crushed by a train. Watching it on there, these famous stories of that, and then you got War of the Worlds. I mean, yeah, people weren't
Naive.
like savvy back then. I
yeah,
guess
they
you'd
could
say,
do
about
long
media.
division, but they didn't realize it was a movie. It's like
Yeah.
this weird thing.
It is strange.
Kids can't do math. Well, I've never used long division in my life and I'm 52.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like data changes. It's just data change. Like you got these fucking Chinese. They're like, oh, you know, X times Z times a billion, blah, blah, blah. And they could do it, but you know, they can't create, they're like autistic idiot. I mean, you know, so it's crazy, dude. It's crazy. Guys, great show. Brad, did you get out where they can find you?
Yeah, it's Freedom Act Radio on X. There's a link in bio. Propaganda Report on any podcast listening app. Propaganda Fight is my website. Patreon.com/propaganda report. Prop report on locals, Rockfin, and a final a heartwarming message. It relates to what Austin says. There's a book called The Rape of the Mind.
Oh, good.
Very hard. Thanks, Brad.
The Psychology of Thought Control, Menticide, and Brainwashing.
You got
it's from 1956.
Dude, it's gonna be beep, beep, beep.
Written by a psychoanalyst, and like Menticide, it's organized thought control. That's it's psychological form of genocide, where a powerful group manipulates and perverts the minds of the victim to transfer their own.
Wow.
I have the book. I've read it. It's extraordinary.
This is a 20-minute ending on the show.
Yeah, that's a long
It's it's like broken simulation.
Yeah,
man.
okay, yeah. All right, great show, guys. Let's break it down. All right, what'd you guys think, Austin and Brad?
Dude, why didn't you just tell us a computer was coming on?
Yeah, I mean, it was a machine. He's a machine. They're both machines. They're both well-versed in everything. They bring, it's so funny. It's like, I did Rogan. He's like, what's the source? I'm like, it should just be Austin and Brad. My friend Austin, my friend Brad.
Dude, that video of that pedo Nobel laureate is maybe the most infuriating thing I've ever seen.
I don't know how you interview him and don't go nuts. Like, I couldn't finish the interview. I'd be like, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean, you defenestrate the guy, throw him out a window, right? Just like...
Yeah, they wanted it. It's like gross, dude. And that's just how they think, and they're all the same.
And he's belligerent about it. Like I'm tired of arguing this. I'm right. I love diddling kids, you know?
I mean, just lose it, dude. Just fucking lose it. Just fucking lose it. I mean, it's just crazy. And then that whole Destiny stuff. He's a piece of shit.
He's dead, by the way, that guy. We should dig him up and piss on him.
Well, like I was saying that about Netanyahu. It's like he might die at the end of this. And I go, I don't care. Dig him up, put his corpse on trial, just the same way that they did with the Pope. You remember when they tried a dead corpse?
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they
Pope.
dug up a Pope and they tried him.
Oh, I did not. Whoa.
Yeah, they should do that with Netanyahu as he tries to get out of it. But again, it's like, how deep down the rabbit hole do you got to go? And then you got this idiot Mike Tracy over here trying to tell us about pedo panic when we just did 2 hours of like, it's systematic, you idiot. You dumbass.
What a pedo panic? Is that like satanic panic?
Yeah,
People
that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to
say it's equivalent.
Yeah, he's saying it's equivalent, that people are losing their mind on this shit. And then I just listed like 10 different cases of
Who
where
is
it's
saying
been
that again?
Mike Tracy.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he's a journalist, and like in the past he had some really good work, but again, it just gets into this thing where like you get the call and you got to go fully retarded.
So okay, they have something on them, some blackmail, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
I'm just saying because you have
Could
to
be
when
an
you
idiot.
No, I don't know. I'm not going to say that. I can't say they have that on them. I don't know what it is.
Well, you would assume when you turn around so crazy.
No, I wouldn't assume necessarily that. I would
Some people are just so contrarian.
Or some people are getting paid money, or he he realizes that at some point that he is getting artificially pushed in front of everybody because it's like it's about everything's about reach, right? It's like how you always have these people, they say we're in Hollywood, right? We know who I'm talking about. And now that Hollywood's dying, how are they going to promote their own? Well, it's going to be through reach. Who's allowed to be seen and who is not. And that's the whole thing. It's like, who is pushed to the front of everybody's timeline, everybody's front page on YouTube. That's what's going on.
I should change my name, huh? John Woodardstein.
Yeah,
like
Wooder
that.
Steinberg.
Nice.
They just go really hard into it.
Try that.
Wooder Steinberg Cohen.
Give that a shot.
Just every kind of Jewish last name, just keep it going.
Yeah.
Right?
Rabbi.
I mean, that's what it's all about, dude. So it's just absolutely ridiculous, and it's an awful hill to die on. It's an awful hill to die on.
Any hill's an awful hill to die on, but especially that one.
Well, I mean, protecting kids, that's a hill I'll die on, right? I mean, that's a hill.
I'm just saying nobody wants to die, but I get. I'm just being.
Johnny's
I'm
so
doing
afraid
a
of
dumb joke.
death. It's so hilarious.
It's hilarious. I mean, that you think it's normal not to be afraid of death. Everybody's afraid of death.
I don't think everybody's afraid of death.
Most people by far. Because this thing, anytime I ask people on Twitter, I'm like, is he right? And everybody's like, I don't know what he's talking about.
Okay. Well, I think if you don't understand the life cycle, you're afraid of death.
Okay,
Now, do you
okay.
want to die a horrible death? No. But the notion of like your time is up, it's time to go.
Right,
Like-
but it's the fear of the unknown. That's what it is, because you don't know what's going to happen next, and it's just like going into a dark
What if
room.
none happens? You just go dark.
That sounds worse than almost. I mean, there are many things that's worse than that are existing.
Johnny, show me someone living their best life at 130. They just like the
Right, but we have the technology again.
Okay.
It's getting better.
great.
Okay, so you would, if you could, Johnny, you would kind of live forever.
As long as I mean, okay, in the Bible we're commanded your body's a temple, you got to take care of your body, right? And so to me, the natural extension of that is to extend your life as long as you can by taking care of yourself, as we're commanded.
Yeah, but you don't think
the Bible.
eventually, like, let's say we could do 500 years. You don't think eventually you'd be like, I did everything. Like, I've done
do
it
not
all.
think
Like,
that,
what more
no.
do I need?
No,
So-
that's a lack of imagination. Yeah.
Johnny, what if you're the only one that's allowed to live and everybody you love is gone?
I will miss them.
Fucking Johnny.
It's unbelievable.
Somebody needs to be around to remember him.
No.
It'll be me.
That means he's going to run tinfoil by himself.
Yeah.
I used to remember
Hey,
when...
you remember when Sam was a host 200 years ago?
Oh, I'm about to. Shit. I was gonna say I'd be your Oligny. It's just holding the torch for you.
You know what's really crazy, dude, is I heard that there's this company that's interested in like cash daddies and getting ads on cash daddies, and they now have
please.
AI that will do the reads in our voices.
No, we're not doing that, right?
No, but I'm not saying we're doing it. But how crazy is
That's
that?
creepy. Oh no, people do it all the time. Yeah, I mean there's a guy on YouTube I know who he has whole videos. He's one of these like financial analysts that he just types the script out and it reads it in his voice, and people don't even know it. But he's talked about it. This guy.